crimes and that by definition they don't target civilians. When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.xyz, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.xyz today to find out more. UPI reports U.S. Olympic swimming gold medalist Ryan Lochte is not welcome in Rio de Janeiro, accused with 3 others of having lied about being robbed at gunpoint to cover up a drunken episode at a gas station, and then leaving Brazil just steps ahead of the Rio police. The 4 American swimmers claim they were robbed while taking a taxi to the Olympic Village early Sunday after a late party at the Team France house. The 12-time Olympic medalist claimed men posing as police stopped their taxi, forced them onto the ground, and put a gun to his head before making off with his wallet. Investigators say as they looked further into the tale, it began to fall apart. Police say the 4 swimmers did take a taxi back to the village, but stopped at a gas station on the way back and got into a fracas with a security officer there over damage to a restroom door. The gas station owner said Lochte, who later acknowledged being intoxicated, also urinated on the outer wall before leaving. The Americans returned to their cab and tried to leave. The guard pulled his weapon to detain them until Rio police arrived. Security video from the Avenue of the Americas, where the incident occurred, shows the men at the gas station and their spat with the guard. The video also shows them trying to get into a different taxi. The video does not show any signs of an armed robbery. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a U.S. judge on Thursday rejected an attempt by Uber Technologies to settle a class action lawsuit with drivers who claimed they were employees and entitled to expenses. In a case that has been closely watched in Silicon Valley, where many companies use on-demand workers, U.S. District Judge Edward Chen in San Francisco ruled the settlement was not fair or adequate for Uber drivers. Some drivers had objected to the terms of the settlement, valued at up to $100 million, which would have affected roughly 385,000 current and former drivers in California and Massachusetts. Uber drivers contended in the lawsuit that they should be deemed employees and reimbursed for expenses such as gasoline and vehicle maintenance. Those expenses are now borne by the drivers. The proposed settlement would have kept drivers classified as independent contractors. Several drivers who were part of the lawsuit filed objections with the court. In a statement, Uber said it believed the settlement was fair and reasonable, adding, "We're disappointed in the decision and we're taking a look at our options." Chen noted that part of the proposed settlement, $16 million, would only have been paid to drivers if Uber's valuation grew by a certain benchmark within a year of any initial public offering. The remaining $84 million, Chen said, represented a substantial discount on the full value of driver claims. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
It's the Onion Radio News. An area man doesn't know what to do with all the extra ketchup packets. This is Doyle Redland reporting. After finishing his Big Bacon Classic combo, Erie, Pennsylvania resident and Wendy's patron Don Turnby, 38, expressed uncertainty today regarding what to do with all the extra ketchup packets. Turnby had asked for extra ketchup upon placing his order for a ketchup-necessitating Biggie Fries.
Well, I knew it was too many ketchups because I usually only need 3 or 4 for my Biggie Fries, but I just took them anyway.
At his nearby home, the Turnby pantry is crammed with hundreds of other restaurant condiments, including single-serving packets of Taco Bell mild sauce, Arby's horsey sauce, soy sauce, McDonald's Chicken McNuggets hot mustard sauce, pats of shed spread country crock from Ponderosa Steakhouse, and a selection of Smucker's jellies and jams from several area diners. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can join us here to bring up whatever is on your mind. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you in studio, it's Ian.
And Daryl.
And I've been teasing this thing all week on the show, and I apologize for we never actually got to it. It was always story number 2 or 3, and we just got busy on the phones, and that's sometimes how it goes here on Free Talk Live. We don't always get to all the things in the prep that we might want.
As Forrest Gump once said, it happens.
Yep. New Jersey weed man. Unfortunately, it has happened to him on multiple occasions. He's been arrested for being basically a hero for the cannabis legalization movement in New Jersey. We've had him on the show in the past. Just a really recognizable fellow who's done a lot of work towards legalizing cannabis in New Jersey. And, arguably outside of New Jersey as well.
What can we do to get NJ Weedman to become NH Weedman?
I think I asked him about that a few years ago when we interviewed him for the first time, and I don't recall his exact answer, but, it's one of those things where New Jersey's his home, and it's hard to get people to leave their home. New Jersey is not the friendliest place for cannabis, so obviously somebody...
New Jersey is not the friendliest place, period, end of sentence. And then you add in the government that makes everything even worse.
Yeah. Well, they're just...
But it's not New York.
For people who want cannabis, and that's their only issue, because I don't really honestly know what Weedman's political viewpoints are. He may be fairly libertarian. I know he's in favor of jury nullification. But honestly, I don't know him that intimately. But even if he were a libertarian, there are plenty of people who have just decided they just want to go and get high, and they've moved to Colorado.
True.
And so if that's their most important thing in their life, and that is to be able to smoke weed without much fear of being arrested, then there are other places besides New Jersey and New Hampshire that those people can go immediately. If someone believes in liberty and actually wants to be more free all around, not just in the area of weed, then you really got to get to New Hampshire, because this is where libertarians and voluntarists are moving to. It was just announced as the freest state of all the 50 states, according to a recent Cato Institute study called Freedom in the 50 States. And you look like you want to jump in there.
No, I'm thinking, and
Okay.
I don't know who to contact on this. But it would be interesting if the next time they do this, they also include the territories of the U.S.
Oh, do the rankings, the state rankings?
Yeah, add Puerto Rico and Guam and the Virgin Islands in that freedom in the 50 states plus 6 territories, I guess.
Yeah, why not? I mean, it's not. I mean, they've already poured a bunch of effort into the 50 states. What's another 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever?
Would be 6. There are 6 inhabited territories.
So anyway, yeah, if people want to see cannabis in a semi-legal state, there are all kinds of places that can be done, or a mostly legal state. We want to see that happen here in New Hampshire, absolutely. And we'd love to have people who love liberty and want to see cannabis legalized here in New Hampshire, because it's going to happen eventually. It's just a matter of when. And the sooner we can get more activists here, the better off we're going to be. But unfortunately, there's some people who just, they dig in their heels and they say, this is my home, this is where I'm going to stay until the bitter end. And I don't remember if that was exactly the way Ed Fortune put it, which is his real name. He's known popularly as NJ Weedman. Here's the latest in his story after he was raided. His restaurant, he opened up a place called New Jersey Weedman's Joint, a little restaurant next to his church, which is a cannabis church, right across the street, by the way, from City Hall in Trenton, New Jersey. And so they targeted him once again. He's been brought up on 11 charges. He's been indicted on 11 charges. And so this is part of all that. Marijuana activist Ed Fortune, according to Trentonian.com, gave a famous Los Angeles graffiti artist $300 in cash, an ounce of weed, and an expensive bong to paint a political statement on the side of his weed-mobile back in 2008. The provocative portrait showed NJ Weedman blowing smoke into Uncle Sam's face. The van would later become a rolling billboard for Fortune's Trenton restaurant and Pot Temple, capturing in cartoonishly large candor his pro-marijuana views and disdain for New Jersey's hypocritical drug laws. He drove it back and forth to court in Burlington County, where he employed a nullification tactic that he's promised to use again to convince a jury to acquit him of distribution charges in his drug case in Mercer County. Fortune said, quote, "Just like Douglas MacArthur rode the submarine back from the Philippines, I felt the same way about the van," likening it to the general's famous escape during World War II. The van was an apparent irritant, however, to Trenton police, and it was recently reduced to a block of red, white, and green metal, according to Fortune. For the outspoken marijuana legalization advocate, his van, which he claims authorities seized illegally during the April raid this year, now symbolizes the unfairness and unwieldiness of the state's civil forfeiture laws, which are derided by one Washington, D.C. libertarian think tank as among the worst in the country. Now, there's been some civil asset forfeiture out there, some reform of it in various different states, but apparently New Jersey hasn't had that. He says, quote, "They use asset forfeiture to steal your stuff," said Fortune, who's facing myriad drug charges following a raid on his city businesses. He said, "It's crap. It's entirely against what the Founding Fathers envisioned. The Fourth Amendment virtually doesn't exist anymore because of the war on drugs. I want my history back," he said. A police spokesbureaucrat would not comment because of ongoing litigation between the department and Fortune. The destruction of the Weedmobile was the latest chapter in his somewhat Pyrrhic struggle with city officials, police, and prosecutors. Fortune was in court last week battling to regain belongings seized during the raid. And during that raid, the Weedmobile was seized along with Fortune's delivery truck and his girlfriend's car. The roundup also led to the seizure of $19,000 worth of marijuana, say officials, and the arrests of 11 people, including Fortune. He called the amount prosecutor math and propaganda they sell to the public to prove that marijuana is bad. Last week, judge denied Fortune's request to get back surveillance tapes and video equipment he says proves that Trenton police perjured themselves in a federal lawsuit that he brought against the city a month before the raid.
You know, I don't think I've ever heard the term prosecutor math before, but it sounds it's a very descriptive term.
Sure is.
Because they'll do this thing to where they'll, take a picture of some amount and they're like, "This is $500 billion worth of fill in the blank substance." And anybody that knows anything about it's like, I wish I could sell it for that
on
the street.
Tricks they'll use there, Daryl, is they'll take full stalks, plants, the cannabis plant, and they'll just lay them down. They'll weigh the full stalks to get a weight of what those are, and then they'll say, "We've got 25 pounds of cannabis here." Well, now wait a minute, and then they'll say street value of 25 pounds of cannabis. But the fact is, most of that plant is not.
Well, they probably also overinflate what the street value is as well.
They do that. They inflate the street value, but also they inflate the amount of pounds in addition, because they're just claiming the whole thing the whole plant has that value. The reality is, it's only the buds of the plant, the smokable flowers, when dried. So you get the weight of the stalk and all the stems plus. The fact that it's probably still laden with water. So, because normally when you harvest marijuana, you have there's a drying process that goes on, and so it loses its weight when the water evaporates. So it's just completely dishonest from start to finish.
Yeah.
Anyway, so they took a bunch of stuff. They took his van, and this is like an icon. I mean, it was a really unique paint job. The Weedmobile, really psychedelic look and lots of colors, and now it has been crushed, and it's never coming back. Fortune said that when he went to try to get the vehicles back, the police would only release his girlfriend's car. He was told the Weedmobile and the delivery truck were withheld under New Jersey's civil forfeiture law, which allows authorities to take property they believe was purchased or used in furtherance of the crime. But how unusual is it for them to actually destroy the thing that they take? Because most of the time, I mean, I remember seeing in Florida, there were cops that would drive around fancy cars, like a fancy SUV that said, "We stole this from a drug dealer."
Yeah,
Says that on the back.
That in South Carolina as well.
Now, obviously, they probably would not want to drive around the Weedmobile with its current paint job, but in theory, you could sell the Weedmobile and probably make a few bucks.
Paint it.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, so they crushed it just to get at the Weed Man. This is Free Talk Live. You can share your thoughts here.
If you're considering going back to school, ask yourself the following questions. Do you need the flexibility to take classes on your schedule? Do you have college credits you need transferred? Do you want to earn a quality degree from a world-renowned university? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Arizona State University is the perfect school for you. Arizona State University offers over 100 highly ranked degree programs 100% online. You'll earn the same degree as you would on campus, from wherever you are, on your schedule. Plus, ASU Online accepts most transfer credits. For information, call 1-800-958-5345. Learn for yourself why the Wall Street Journal ranks ASU 5th in the nation for producing the best qualified graduates, and why 90% of ASU grads are recruited within 90 days of graduation. Learn to grow, learn to succeed, and learn to thrive at Arizona State University. To learn more about ASU online degrees, call 1-800-958-5345. That's 1-800-958-5345.
Dangerous blood clot device alert. If you or a loved one had an IVC filter placed to prevent blood clots from traveling to your heart or lungs and suffered an injury, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. The FDA warns that IVC filters may cause serious complications, such as heart or lung damage, internal bleeding, and even death. These dangerous blood clot devices can break, and the metal fragments can travel to your heart or lungs, causing serious injuries. If you or a loved one suffered organ damage or other injuries from an IVC filter, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. 800-478-1507. This is an advertisement. Paid non-attorney spokesperson. InjuryHelpDesk.com is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your get intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Tipping. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin tip returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card Bitcoin tip that's easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets and spending, and returns to the tipper if unused. Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You are invited to join us here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Skype username is LRN.FM. Of course, you can take control of the airwaves. You can bring up anything that happens to be on your mind. On the way, coming up here, Venezuela apparently now confiscating guns. I mean, they've been illegal there, so we'll see what the latest is on that situation as Venezuela continues to spiral down into absolute socialist inflationary hell. But also, If you want to get the latest on all kinds of liberty-oriented news from around the globe, Freedom's Phoenix follows along with that over at freedomsphoenix.com. It's a liberty-oriented news aggregation site. If you want the newest and freshest stories and perspectives on current events from those who value liberty, freedomsphoenix.com has it. They've got a daily dispatch, and that's the best way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. It's Freedoms with an S. Phoenix.com. That's freedomsphoenix.com. We're talking about the destruction of the Weedmobile. NJ Weedman, the New Jersey Weedman, had his business and his temple raided back in April, and it was at that time when the police stole his van and also stole his delivery truck and stole his girlfriend's car.
At least they didn't steal the girlfriend.
Well, thank goodness no. She might have been one of the 11 arrested. Honestly, I don't know. There were a bunch of people arrested in the raid, and NJ Weedman is now facing multiple charges over that. The guy is going to fight all the way. He's going to take this to a jury trial. He's going to push for jury nullification, which, of course, if you don't know, is your right as a juror to vote your conscience in a case. To vote if you think the law is bad, you can vote not guilty, even if they caught somebody with a pound of marijuana or whatever. And apparently they did find a few pounds of it at this location.
And last week, the Superior Court judge in the case denied Weedman's motion to reclaim his belongings.
That's correct.
Most notably cameras, videos, computer hard drives, and other things that were confiscated during the raid in April.
Right. He claimed that the surveillance tapes that was in that confiscation have evidence that proves Trenton police perjured themselves in a federal lawsuit he brought against the city a month before the raid. So he believes that the raid was in response to his lawsuit against Trenton police.
It's very likely.
Also the fact that it was his business, this weed cafe basically, was located right across the street from City Hall. I mean, so I love this guy. He just totally puts it in the city's face. But unfortunately, they do what the cities tend to do, and that is they'll target political dissidents, and they'll try to put them in prison. Now, of course, NJ Weedman's been to jail / prison before for his efforts, and so he's not afraid of going back. And we'll continue to follow that story here. You can join us, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. A report released last year by the Institute for Justice, which is a great legal defense fund or organization, found that New Jersey has some of the worst civil forfeiture laws in the country. The think tank gave the Garden State a D-, noting that, all civil forfeiture laws are bad, but theirs in New Jersey are some of the worst. Noting law enforcement can seize and retain people's property in the absence of criminal conviction.
That's what civil forfeiture is.
The report noted that, now they're starting to, some states are updating it to where you
can only use criminal asset forfeiture.
There's
two different types. There's civil and there's criminal.
I didn't know they ended civil entirely.
In some states.
Okay. That hasn't happened here yet, though, right? Weren't they trying that in New Hampshire?
They were trying that in New Hampshire. I will check the status on that bill because I'm not entirely sure if it wound up going through the House and the Senate,
I feel
or
like
if
there
it
was
just went through the House.
Some kind of reform that passed this year of civil forfeiture. I know you'll look on that. I appreciate it. The report noted that county prosecutors collected more than $72 million worth of forfeitures from 2009 to 2013, and some of that money used to fund police initiatives such as body cams, was used to fund body cams, according to published reports. The reports also pointed to a lack of regulations requiring New Jersey law enforcement track and report those forfeitures. So we have no idea really what they took because they don't have to keep track of it. The report also, Fortune said that despite being told by Trenton police that his vehicles were being kept, the Mercer County Prosecutor's Office filed a civil forfeiture for only $400 in cash found on him at his business inside a donation jar. He said prosecutors did not go after the vehicles, and he planned to fight in court to get them back. But he found out this week from the owner of Hawks Towing and Recovery that the Weedmobile was crushed down to a metal block after it was impounded and towed to the lot. Fortune had 20 days to pick it up and pay the fees, or it was considered abandoned, according to Brian Hawkins. Fortune said police misinformation prevented him from getting the van out of the lot in time. What do you know? The cops told a lie. Or they were just misinformed and they gave him misinformation. But it's not uncommon to ask bureaucrats a question and then have them give you completely false information, tell you the wrong thing that you have to do legally, because you can't really take legal advice from these people, unfortunately. Fortune said the van had so much sentimental value after purchasing the gas-guzzling 1986 Ford E150 for $1,400 from a man in Studio City, California. Fortune drove the Weedmobile to New Jersey to restart his life. He decked it out with intricate, colorful murals of marijuana, paraphernalia, and the words, God grown. Fortune also slapped on some $2,500 rims. What upset Fortune is he believes police took the vehicle as part of a retaliatory campaign to put him out of business. He said it wasn't worth selling. It was only valuable to me. I don't know. I bet you probably could have put that thing up for auction and all the weed fans would have been able to bid something on it.
Yeah.
Toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE. Let's go to your calls and thoughts. We got Neil. He's in Arizona. You're on Free Talk Live with Ian and Daryl. Hey, Neil.
Hello again, guys. I want to talk for just a moment about what happened to our swimming guys over in Brazil.
Oh, yeah. Ryan Lochte and 3 other teammates who made false reports to the Rio police, claimed that they were robbed at gunpoint, but actually wound up getting into a scuffle with a security guard and urinating on the bathroom door.
Whoa.
And they paid for the damage, and then the government over there basically extorted $11,000 out of the last guy to give him his passport back to get home.
Huh.
Did you hear about that part?
I did not hear that part. I did hear that they were not allowed back in Rio.
Okay, well, anyhow, yeah, he had to write an $11,000 donation to some charity to get his passport back. Now, my point is, ever since I was old enough to remember watching the Olympics on TV, and whatever country it was in, they would always say, and here, representing the United States of America, we have this people to keep this stuff from happening again. When our Olympic teams go to a foreign country, at least questionable countries, I'm not worried about Canada, why can't our State Department or whoever's in charge of it at least temporarily issue everybody on our teams a diplomatic passport so that can't happen?
So that they can't urinate on bathroom doors and commit acts of things that are actually, crimes, and then be held responsible for those offenses?
Yeah, hold on, Neil. We'll bring you back here in a moment. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. It sounds like these Olympic people need to keep the partying down to a minimum instead of getting... I presume they were wasted when they did this stuff.
Yes.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can share your thoughts.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com. So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com. Advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
We've all heard about blockchain assets like Dogecoin, Ether, and Ripple. Bitcoin isn't the only player in the blockchain game any longer. And for those of us wondering how to get our hands on these digital assets, finally, there's a solution. Shapeshift.io allows you to buy and sell between your digital assets and Bitcoin instantly between your own digital wallets. I've used it with ease. Shapeshift.io. There's no account or email address needed. You send them the crypto you want to sell. They send back the crypto you want to buy. It's that easy. Shapeshift.io. Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and we invite you to join us here toll-free, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Skype username for you is lrn.fm. Of course, you can bring up anything that's on your mind here. We were talking about the New Jersey weed man having his weedmobile confiscated and crushed by the Trenton Police Department. Ultimately, it was not the police department that did the crushing, but the tow yard.
At the request of the police department.
Certainly, that the tow yard did their bidding. We're going to get back into asset forfeiture here in a moment, but we've got Neil on the line to talk more about these Olympians who apparently were pretty effed up and, peed on some door, a bathroom door or something? What was it they peed on?
I actually covered this in today's FPP Radio News.
Oh, thank
so
goodness, because I didn't know anything about it.
If you're listening to the Liberty Radio Network at the top of the hour, you'll hear the story. So what had happened, these 4 Olympians from the U.S. had a party at the Team France Olympic House. They took a cab back to Olympic Village, stopped at a gas station, and, I guess they had to go pee, and they just peed on the door and apparently got into some kind of confrontation with the security guard. And, the story they told the Rio police was there was an armed robbery. The security footage from the gas station does not show any kind of armed robbery, but it does show them having a confrontation with the security guard.
Yeah, and what would the armed robbery have anything to do with them peeing all over the place?
It didn't. They were trying to cover the fact that they were wasted and got into a fight with the security guard. They're like, no, we got robbed.
Oh, I see.
And so now they're possibly wanted for making false statements to a police officer.
Wanted in Brazil.
Wanted in Rio.
Which they've already escaped from.
Which they've already left. And my understanding is they are not necessarily welcome back into Rio unless it is to wind up going to court.
Let's go back to Neil. He's in Golden Shores, Arizona. Now, you'd called in, Neil, about this, and you'd said that maybe the State Department needs to issue diplomatic passports. So you said this couldn't happen again.
Well, no, of course these people would know if they go over there and run amok and do something really stupid, the State Department could cancel their diplomatic immunity and say, okay, they did this. You can keep them and prosecute them. But I mean,
well, then what's the point of the diplomatic passport?
But I mean, over piddly little stuff, you know, holding these guys hostage for how many days and extorting $11,000 out of this guy so he could come home. I just don't think that's right. I mean, they did pay the gas station damages. I think they gave him $50 for peeing on their door or whatever he did. But and the guy that pulled the gun on him was like he wasn't dressed like a cop. He was an off-duty cop. And these kids didn't know if this guy was a cop or not. But in all fairness, our kids aren't really back on our soil yet. I'm sure there will be a press conference, and we haven't actually heard their side of anything yet.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Like I said, I haven't followed the story closely, and I agree with you that $11,000 seems like a lot of money. I mean, the government, that's what they do. They extract money from people in usually ridiculously large amounts. So that's not a surprise.
And my whole point is if our state could probably give all these kids at least temporary diplomatic passports.
But what is that? What good is that going to do? That's going to stop them.
That's just going to encourage them to do more, shenanigans and be like, you can't do anything to me because I've got diplomatic immunity.
Yeah, look, here's what I don't understand, and it's because maybe I'm not worldly enough. My understanding is you don't need a passport to leave the country you're visiting. So, like, if I've gone to Canada, I don't need a passport to leave. Canadians aren't checking my passport when I leave. It's the U.S. government that wants to check the passport when I come back in. So,
well, they were in Brazil. I don't know what the rules are in Brazil of being able to leave Brazil.
I don't either, but
the whole point of my idea is, and so these kids can go over there and do whatever they want. It's just to keep any country that we have diplomatic relationships with from pulling crap on anybody that's an American citizen.
All right, Neil, thanks for your call tonight. I appreciate it.
Because Americans have extra rights.
That seems to be what he was suggesting.
So the New Zealand athlete that about 3 days before the start of the Olympics, who got pulled over by Rio police and told that he needed a passport to be able to drive in Brazil because he wasn't a Brazilian citizen, and then the police took him to an ATM and demanded that he withdraw money. That's okay because he's a New Zealander, but because these guys were American, then somehow that's different.
It makes me wonder how close to reality the Onion skit that we have that runs on LRN.FM about the Olympians having sex with one another and partying all the time is close to reality or not.
Probably very close to reality.
Probably is.
And the difference
I'd play it
sort
here,
of
but it's
the level at which the corruption is visible, right? So in the U.S., no, we're not going to demand money on the scene. We're going to write you all of these summonses and make you appear in court. And then you have to give us this large amount of money.
Yeah, and there probably wouldn't be, even in the United States, $11,000 for peeing on a door seems like a lot of money, but then again,
they also making false statements to police.
Oh, yeah.
And, probably
But did they know that at the time? Hold on. So did they know it was a false statement to the police at the time? It sounds like
they filed a report with the Rio Police Department about being robbed.
Right. But did they determine that was false?
They knew that they were talking to the Rio Police Department.
No. What I'm saying is, did the Rio Police Department know that was a false report before or after they'd already left the country? You see what I'm saying? If there's a warrant for their arrest now for filing a false police report, that suggests the police did not know at the time that it was a false police report.
I don't know at which point between when they filed the report and when they left, about a day later.
Yeah.
The police wound up, getting the security footage and knowing for certain.
It sounds to me like it would have been after they left when they figured out that it was a false report, because otherwise they'd have arrested them or kept them in custody or something like that. So I'd say $11,000 to get away with filing a false police report and get out of the country seems like it's not so bad.
Yeah, and then, those Olympians, because they also won gold medals, they're going to have to probably give about that much money to Uncle Sam.
In taxes.
Because of the, the award money that the State Department gives them for winning a gold medal, plus they have to pay taxes on the presumed value of the gold medal, even though it's a chunk of silver coated in gold. It's not actually a solid gold medal.
Of course not. Toll-free number tonight if you want to join us, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733.
And you had asked about the asset forfeiture reform here in New Hampshire, and there was reform. SB 522, Senate Bill 522, wound up actually having a House bill get added to it that included asset forfeiture reform to where it now requires a criminal conviction.
Wow.
So instead of being civil asset forfeiture, it's criminal asset forfeiture. The burden of proof has shifted from the owner to the state.
Wow.
Where normally it's the state v. $75,000, and then the owner has to prove that the money is innocent. Now the state has to prove beyond a certain amount of evidence that the stuff is guilty after they have convicted the person of the offense.
That's a big change.
Yes, and that standard of evidence is clear and convincing.
I've never heard of that one before.
Yeah, so that's basically...
is that higher than a reasonable doubt?
No, that's lower than reasonable doubt,
but higher
and
than
I think
preponderance?
it's higher than preponderance of evidence.
Interesting. Toll-free number if you want to join us here. You can take control of the airwaves, bring up whatever you want. There's another statement from Weedman I want to throw out here on the Weedmobile confiscation. And then we'll wrap that up, move on to Venezuela.
And it also returns all forfeited property to the general fund and instead of incentivizing the local police.
So the cops don't get the dough, even if they do get the confiscation.
Correct.
855-450-FREE. Wow, that's really impressively good reform there. This is Free Talk Live. Join us.
I'm Governor Gary Johnson. Like 60% of you, I'm not impressed by the two-party system. It's a dinosaur. It's outmoded and no longer reflects today's America. Two-party politics doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for anybody but itself in decades. If we the people are wise, we will never again elect another president from within the entrenched, corrupt, co-opted two-party system. The office of president should serve the needs of everyone equally with respect and with fairness. I did it as governor, I'll do it as president. Google me. 60% of you have said you want another choice in 2016, and now you have one in me. We the people have a chance to do something in 2016 that may not come around again in our lifetimes. We have a legitimate chance to elect one of our own to the highest office in the land. Give me your vote one time and see what a difference one election can make.
Our best America yet. Johnson Weld, 2016.
Paid for by Gary Johnson, 2016.
Technically, I wasn't invited to this wedding, but you can stroll into any event with a camera and people will assume you're the photographer. This bag's holding more than cameras. It's also got an RFID scanner that's picking up all your personal information. Debit cards, credit cards, even that key to your office. So while the bride's taking his last name, I'll be taking yours. Say cheese!
Do you have a stronghold on your identity? ID Stronghold pioneered RFID blocking technology over a decade ago. For about the same price as an unprotected wallet, you can get a stronghold on your credit cards, license, and other critical data with ID Stronghold wallets, card sleeves, and purses. Other RFID blocking technology simply isn't the same. Check the label. If it's not an ID Stronghold, it's probably weak.
I'm Walt Augustinowicz, founder and CEO of ID Stronghold. Protect yourself from crimes you can't see with ID Stronghold wallets in bifold, trifold, and the popular mini style.
Get the original RFID blocking wallet. IDstronghold.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
There's no better app for tracking the value of cryptocurrencies than CoinCap. I've had a lot of apps for tracking Bitcoin, but none that's ever been able to track 500 digital assets at once. Their best feature is the Altfolio. I love this thing. You enter how many Bitcoins, Ether, Dash, Doge, or whatever else you have, and it tells you how much your crypto is worth. You can watch yourself get rich. If you have crypto, go right now to coincap.io, or you can use the Apple Store or Google Play to get the app. I love CoinCap. coincap.io.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us on the radio waves here. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. The Skype username is LRN.FM. Tonight, when you're going to bed, concentrate on the position of your head and neck. Because in a lot of cases, chronic headaches, neck, and even back pain can be solved with the right pillow. Your spine should be straight and parallel to the floor. And MyPillow is designed to fit to the shape of your body and hold your neck in the proper position. I've got a MyPillow. I've been sleeping with it for months. Daryl has as well. And they've been fantastic. You can go to MyPillow.com, buy one for yourself, try it out. If you don't think this is the best pillow you've owned, then you can send it back in for the 60-day money-back guarantee. And by the way, you can actually put this pillow in your washer and dryer. It's designed for that. I've never seen that in a pillow before, and so that's a pretty amazing feature on its own, but it actually feels really great to sleep on MyPillow. You can go and learn more about it and get yours with code FTL. You do need to get the code, or use the code to get the special offer of 2 for the price of 1 or 1 at half off. Code FTL, like Free Talk Live, over at MyPillow.com. 60-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty on the product. As we continue here, we started the show out tonight talking about the New Jersey weed man and his van, the Weedmobile, which unfortunately is now a block of metal. Because
actually a block of metal.
That's correct. The Trentonian police had raided the Weedman's restaurant and temple back in April, had stolen lots of marijuana, but we didn't find out until just now that they also stole his Weedmobile and his delivery truck and his girlfriend's car. Ultimately, they gave back the girlfriend's car, but Fortune says that the police gave him misinformation, and that prevented him from being able to get the van out from the towing company that ultimately, after 20 days, decided to crush the van rather than sell it like you would think most tow companies would. Now, maybe this thing was just such a piece of garbage that it just wasn't even worth selling, but the paint job itself would have been worth something. The sort of the value of the collectible factor of this is NJ Weedman's, this is a piece of art.
There might be something in New Jersey state law that prevents a tow company from selling a vehicle.
Could be. It would surprise me if that were the case, because it wouldn't make sense if they got a decent car like a BMW or something like that, are they not allowed to? They have to crush that. I mean, it would be insane. But I suppose it is New Jersey, so
right. But most of the time laws don't make sense.
Right. That's true. Well, then they could at least give it away. I mean, if it was a valuable car or something like that.
They might not be allowed to.
Okay. Well, if you live in New Jersey and you can confirm or deny that, you can join us here toll-free at 855-450-FREE. So we talked about some asset forfeiture reform. Apparently it's been majorly reformed here in New Hampshire, as Daryl was just sharing with us. Somebody called in about Olympic shenanigans, but I wanted to read the final statement from Ed Fortune, a.k.a. New Jersey Weedman, as reported on here at Trentonian.com. Fortune points to other actions the police in town have taken against him, like when he was arrested for alleged cyberbullying after he called a Trenton cop a pedophile. He has also been issued numerous tickets, including one that he received months after he sparked up a joint at City Hall. Fortune believes police didn't like the Weedmobile's message, but feels that message will resonate with a jury. He said, quote, "It's symbolic of the harassment I've been receiving for the last few months. It was done illegally. I think it was done personally, and it was done with spite in their hearts. I'm not a rapist, a robber, or a murderer. I just smoke weed. The law's wrong, not me. 26 states have disregarded the federal government's marijuana laws. I find it hypocritical that the state of New Jersey is violating federal law by having dispensaries, but also prosecuting me. They're going to be publicly embarrassed by this dread-headed, non-educated Negro." Unquote. So he's going all the way to the wall on this one. He's going into court. He's going to defend. I don't know if he's. I think he actually has an attorney, but he is going to defend himself in court and then hopefully get nullified. Hopefully the jury will vote not guilty in this case and put a good spanking on that Trenton Police Department. Shame on them.
And based on the article that I pulled up earlier and referenced where he had the hearing last week where he was requesting some of the evidence back and the court denied that.
That's right.
The article did mention that his lawyer was going to be filing a motion to suppress some of the evidence that the state has and hopefully try to get the warrant itself tossed out.
If you want to join us here, the toll-free number is 855-450-FREE, but good luck getting back the alleged $19,000 worth of cannabis there. Still to come here tonight, we've got a poll that has revealed some shocking numbers about Green Party presidential candidate Jill Stein and who she's losing to in this particular presidential poll. Let's say it could have something to do with a dead gorilla.
Yeah,
we'll give you more about that coming up here in moments. 855-450-FREE. Also, Venezuelan police confiscating weapons, making it even harder to defend yourself in one of the most dangerous countries on earth right now. That's all on the way here on Free Talk Live. In other news, we got a voicemail here, Daryl. Should we play this voicemail?
Sure.
It's kind of
from the
our first
listen
angry
line.
Right, our first angry voicemail. We've got the audio on demand listen line. You can call 641-793-9660 and you can listen to Free Talk Live anytime you want. It's an on demand line. You can listen to also close to a dozen shows from LRN.FM. You can listen to the LRN.FM live feed as well. But one of the other features this line has is you can leave a message. So if you're listening to something, you don't like what you hear, or you like what you hear, or whatever, you can leave a message and let us know what you think. Of course, we might use that on the air. And this is the first real angry message that we've received from anybody.
It is, and I don't think this person was actually listening to Free Talk Live, though.
No, he was not. But that's okay, because all of the messages for any show goes to all the shows. So we got this one. Anyway, here's what this guy had to say. The number again is 641-793-9660.
Yeah, this is Vince Edwards. I'm the coordinator of GOE 101 in Blanca, Colorado. And I like to listen to LRN FM because I'm into liberty and freedom and stuff like that.
Sounds nice so far.
I mean, who's not into liberty? Well, I guess some people aren't, but presumably that would be why you were listening to LRN.FM.
And stuff like that. What I really don't want to hear about is some guy talking about another guy who might be on MDMA and coming into their room when they're sleeping and sucking their dick, okay? I really don't want to hear about stuff like that. Now, that's the second time I've turned on the station. I don't know are you guys trying to self-destruct over there? I mean, what the is going on, okay? Am I done? I'm pretty much done listening to your radio station for a while. I might flip it back on again, but if I hear that, it's totally over. All right? Bye.
So it sounds like he may have heard one of the things in the podcast loop.
I think, well, yeah,
twice.
It's probably one of two shows. It's probably either Flaming Freedom or it was TJ and James on Anarchy After Dark last week.
Could have also been Off the Air Live.
Could have been Off the Air Live, right. Any show with TJ on it.
One of three shows.
Yeah.
But still, it sounds like he heard the same episode twice because those shows do run on replays. So they air live late at night, and then there's a replay sometime later in the week.
So obviously very, very upset over that content. And yes, there are some shows on LRN.FM that are explicit. We do mention that if you go to the program guide at lrn.fm, you can go to the show, look at program guide up at the top, or just go to shows.lrn.fm. And there are several of them that are listed as explicit because LRN is a pirate radio network that has podcasts on it. And some of them are going to say, F words and this and that, or talk about sex in an explicit manner because that's what adults do. So it sounds like he was upset specifically by the content of those explicit shows, or maybe just any show talking about any sex would have upset him. But presumably it was the gay sex that upset him. And I'm just jumping to a conclusion because that's all we can do with voicemails. We can't actually ask the person questions about why they were upset or whatever. So you can presume that maybe the fact that gay guys were talking about doing gay things on the air was upsetting to him. And I did expect that would happen when I added Flaming Freedom many years ago to this network. It's been on for a long time, and on Flaming Freedom, which is the gayest show you'll ever hear, in a wonderful way, of course. It's on Thursday nights on LRN.FM at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. And there have been all kinds of very explicit talk on Flaming Freedom over the years. More so, I would say, than what he was just describing.
Right, and I'm looking at the program guide, and I noticed several things that are clearly marked explicit content.
Yep, that's right. So I'm not going to apologize for it because, well, look, if you don't like it, as he said, you can turn it off. But if you do want to hear some very unusual content, I highly recommend Flaming Freedom. It's hosted by Derek J. Freeman, who is a former Free Talk Live co-host. He still would be a Free Talk Live co-host, but unfortunately he moved out to the seacoast of New Hampshire.
He's also the star of Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree.
That's right, which you can watch over at victimlesscrimespree.com. And I promise there's no sex scenes in Victimless Crime Spree. So you can watch that without being concerned about what you're going to see. But anyway, and there you go. There's some of the first negative feedback we've received on the listen lines. It's Free Talk Live. Hour 2 coming up.
Here's a good idea. When you have a legal matter like creating your will or legally setting up a business with a corporation or LLC, you don't necessarily need a law firm. Use LegalZoom.com. At LegalZoom.com, you answer straightforward questions online, and they take care of the rest. They even review your answers for common mistakes and guarantee your satisfaction. Free Talk Live listeners, you'll get 10% off your order by typing in FTL in the referral box at purchase. Don't procrastinate with these important legal documents. LegalZoom.com. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Arcade City is a ride-sharing app built by drivers, not a mega corporation. As a driver with Arcade City, you can keep all of what you earn. Sign up now to drive for or ride with Arcade City at arcade.freetalklive.com. Arcade City is connecting drivers directly with riders and has been making headlines for disrupting the ride-sharing industry. Sign up now at arcade.freetalklive.com. That's arcade.freetalklive.com.
LRN.FM is proud to announce our official listening apps for Android and iOS devices. Now you can easily tune into our streams anywhere, anytime on your smartphone or tablet. Just visit apps.lrn.fm or search for LRN.FM in the Android or Apple app stores. Please download, rate us 5 stars, then share the link on your social media and let your friends and family know how you're listening to LRN.FM. Download it now, free at apps.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, August 19th, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.35 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,341 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $581. Antiwar.com reports after Saudi Arabian airstrikes against a Doctors Without Borders (MSF) hospital earlier this week killed 19 civilians, including 3 staff members. The aid group is announcing a full-scale evacuation of its staff from all 6 hospitals it operates in northern Yemen. MSF warned that it considers all hospitals in Sada and Hajjah province unsafe for patients and staff because they are at risk of targeting by Saudi warplanes. MSF facilities have been repeatedly targeted since Saudi Arabia invaded Yemen last year. A statement by Doctors Without Borders said they regretted having to withdraw from northern Yemen, but that they have been unable to secure any credible assurances from the Saudi-led coalition that they will stop attacking the hospitals, saying they have no option but to withdraw. Saudi Arabia promised to probe the attack on the hospital, but despite killing thousands over the course of the war so far, they have repeatedly insisted their attacks are not war crimes and that by definition they don't target civilians. When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.xyz, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.xyz today to find out more. UPI reports U.S. Olympic swimming gold medalist Ryan Lochte is not welcome in Rio de Janeiro, accused with 3 others of having lied about being robbed at gunpoint to cover up a drunken episode at a gas station, and then leaving Brazil just steps ahead of the Rio police. The 4 American swimmers claim they were robbed while taking a taxi to the Olympic Village early Sunday after a late party at the Team France house. The 12-time Olympic medalist claimed men posing as police stopped their taxi, forced them onto the ground, and put a gun to his head before making off with his wallet. Investigators say as they looked further into the tale, it began to fall apart. Police say the 4 swimmers did take a taxi back to the village, but stopped at a gas station on the way back and got into a fracas with a security officer there over damage to a restroom door. The gas station owner said Lochte, who later acknowledged being intoxicated, also urinated on the outer wall before leaving. The Americans returned to their cab and tried to leave. The guard pulled his weapon to detain them until Rio police arrived. Security video from the Avenue of the Americas, where the incident occurred, shows the men at the gas station and their spat with the guard. The video also shows them trying to get into a different taxi. The video does not show any signs of an armed robbery. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a U.S. judge on Thursday rejected an attempt by Uber Technologies to settle a class action lawsuit with drivers who claimed they were employees and entitled to expenses. In a case that has been closely watched in Silicon Valley, where many companies use on-demand workers, U.S. District Judge Edward Chen in San Francisco ruled the settlement was not fair or adequate for Uber drivers. Some drivers had objected to the terms of the settlement, valued at up to $100 million, which would have affected roughly 385,000 current and former drivers in California and Massachusetts. Uber drivers contended in the lawsuit that they should be deemed employees and reimbursed for expenses such as gasoline and vehicle maintenance. Those expenses are now borne by the drivers. The proposed settlement would have kept drivers classified as independent contractors. Several drivers who were part of the lawsuit filed objections with the court. In a statement, Uber said it believed the settlement was fair and reasonable, adding, "We're disappointed in the decision and we're taking a look at our options." Chen noted that part of the proposed settlement, $16 million, would only have been paid to drivers if Uber's valuation grew by a certain benchmark within a year of any initial public offering. The remaining $84 million, Chen said, represented a substantial discount on the full value of driver claims. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Everyone in Pennington is talking about it. Something smells like weed in that back part of the library. Head librarian Cookie Stevens and library volunteers Margaret Mosier and Gail Fredericks were in the middle of discussing the upcoming used book sale againza when they smelled something strange.
So Doug smelled marijuana somewhere, and we're like shocked. Yeah. And so Doug goes, "Do you smell it?"
Without any way to confirm that the smell was indeed weed, Cookie Stevens called her husband Sheriff Stevens, who called in local ceramics teacher Dutch Gibbs, who lived in Seattle for a few months in the 70s.
Yeah, that's weed.
Sheriff Stevens has begun compiling a list of potential suspects, including that boy Lance, who has girl hair and hangs out down by the quarry, Greg Fromke, who was spotted this evening really going to town on some potato skins at Steaky Jake's Steakhouse, and Mr. Thompson. Luckily, one young reading enthusiast seemed unperturbed by the illicit smell.
Yeah, I don't smell anything. I really love the library.
The weed smell comes on the heels of last month's discovery of a gigantic pair of women's underpants in the children's fiction section. According to Stevens, that case remains open as well.
Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. You're invited to join us right here, toll free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Coming up, Venezuela confiscating guns right when people need them the most in one of the most dangerous countries on earth to
That's
live.
That's not
right
all
now.
they're doing.
Oh yeah, that no doubt. They're up to some pretty nasty stuff there in Venezuela. But that's the story that we've got. Also, you can join us here at 855-450-FREE. Some interesting poll numbers coming out regarding Deez Nuts. He is back in the polls, at least one of them. The story coming from, let's see, where is this from? The Green Party, Cron.com, Houston Chronicle. Jill Stein from the Green Party. She's their presidential nominee. She has tied, apparently, with Harambe and has lost to Deez Nuts in a Texas poll. The results are in. Texans would rather vote for Deez Nuts, a fictional politician and prankster, than for the Green Party's Jill Stein. And the percentage backing Stein is the same as that expressing support for Harambe, the gorilla killed earlier this year in a Cincinnati zoo.
And the polls are actually more important now because the Commission on Presidential Debates has actually said which polls they're going to use in determining who to invite to the debates.
Right. They pick 5 different polling companies or 5 polls from different companies.
Correct.
They look at them, and is it an average over a certain period of time? Or
an
is it
average of the polls, and I'm guessing they're probably going to average the most recent of each of these.
Okay, got it.
Once they get to the, crunch time of when they're sending out the invites. And the 5 polls that they're going to use: ABC Washington Post, CBS New York Times, CNN Opinion Research Corporation, Fox News, and NBC Wall Street Journal.
Now, how many of those polls, not that you necessarily know, but you're the kind of person who might know the answer to this question just off the top of your head, Daryl, because you're completely down and interested in the third-party politics.
I've also got Real Clear Politics pulled up where they have all of the polls that have been done.
How many of those polls even bother to include Jill Stein or Gary Johnson? All of them do. Okay. Well, that's good to know. That's a step in the right direction because, I don't know, did they always do that? Or is this kind of like the first year where the third-party candidates even bothered to be, they even bothered to include them?
It's one of those things to where it's hit and miss. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't.
But this time all 5
whether
did.
or not, right, all 5 are including all 4 candidates.
Right.
And, again, looking at Real Clear Politics, it looks as though Johnson's averaging about 9% in the most recent of those.
Not going to cut it.
Right.
He's
even though that there are some people that are, crossing their fingers because there was a statement a couple of weeks ago from one of the co-chairs of the CPD that said, if when it gets time to sending out the invites, somebody is averaging 14.5%, and we see that the margin of error is 3%, well, then we'll have to make a decision whether to send an invite. And some people are interpreting that to mean the CPD is going to send out invites if they're within the margin of error. And that's not what was said at all. What was said was, we'll have to sit down and make a decision.
Which they'll decide to keep the other candidates out, of course.
Probably. And the CPD also, sort of in a CYA sort of thing, did send letters recently to the different places that are hosting the debates saying, hey, go ahead and send us plans of what your design would look like with a third podium on stage.
Oh, and that set people off on Facebook.
Oh, Gary Johnson's getting invited. No, that's not what they just said. Hey, let us see what it would look like if there were 3 podiums on stage.
Or they'll find the Gary Johnson supporters will find a poll from one state where Johnson does really well in some category.
In a certain age group.
Right. And then they'll...
and the voters least likely to show up, 18 to 24, Gary Johnson's polling at 147%.
That means he'll be in the debate soon. No, it doesn't. Now, I am looking through the public policy polling here, which did include both Harambe and Deez Nuts in their polling. However, it should be noted that Jill Stein was not included in the same question. So the question they asked was, if the candidates for president were Democrat Hillary Clinton, Republican Donald Trump, Independent Deez Nuts, and Independent Harambe, who would you vote for? And then it gave those 4 choices plus undecided. So 11% were for undecided, 2% for Harambe, 3% for Deez Nuts, Donald Trump 47%, and Hillary Clinton at 38%.
And again, that was in Texas.
Texas, correct.
And then what were the percentages for the question where they said Gary Johnson and Jill Stein?
Let's see. Gary Johnson, 6%, and Jill Stein, 2%.
That's still better than what either of them are doing in Mississippi, where Jill Stein did not register a percentage and Gary Johnson is at 3%. But again, the state-level polls are completely meaningless as far as debate invites go.
Right. I wasn't bringing this up because of the debate invite. That was a separate story. But I just think it's funny that Harambe is doing pretty well.
But I mentioned that not against you, but I have seen people that they will do this thing of, Gary's polling at 15% in Colorado of voters between 25 and 40, so that means that he's going to get in the debates because he's over 15%. Nope, not at all.
And these Gary Johnson supporters are going to be as butthurt probably as many of the Bernie supporters were, because they have a similar level of delusion about the chances of Gary getting into the debates.
Right, and I've seen some people say that you have to vote for Gary because of ballot access. And my response, well, no, in New Hampshire, Gary Johnson could win the state, and it would not affect ballot access for the Libertarian Party in New Hampshire.
Because that's the way the statutes are written here.
The 2 offices that affect ballot access in New Hampshire are governor and U.S. Senate. And while I will not officially endorse either of the Libertarian candidates in those offices, I will literally hold my nose and vote for them because of the ballot access. But since you mentioned Deez Nuts, there's news from the FEC, and it does not affect this year, but it could possibly affect future filings of fictitious candidates. FEC came out with a press release today where they're looking at instituting a procedure to where staff will follow up to verify information on filings, and they're actually going to try verifying filings for this election cycle that appear to be unlawful or fictitious. The procedure comes in response to an increase in this election cycle in the filing of registrations and statements of candidacy, Form FEC 1 or 2.
I'm not surprised. I mean, the government can't handle it when you make fun of them. They hate it when their processes aren't taken super seriously.
Well, one of the reasons there was an increase in fictitious filings this year, and there's always been some fictitious filings.
Right.
But the reason there was the increase this year is because there was the poll back in, October of last year that included Deez Nuts.
And he got like 9%.
And that, sort of encouraged people, let me file some fake stuff too and see if I can get my fake candidate included in a poll.
Right on. I'm in favor of it. I thought it was hilarious, the Deez Nuts story. We talked about it here on Free Talk Live, and the fact that D's Nuts was doing 9% in October and Gary Johnson is struggling to do 9% right now is an indicator that a lot of the people who are voting for Gary Johnson are probably not voting for him because liberty. They're probably just voting for him because he's not Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton.
Right.
And
the release here from the FEC says that the commission has authorized staff to send verification letters to filers listing what they believe to be fictional characters, obscene language, sexual references, celebrities, animals, or similarly implausible entries as the name or contact information, and they might possibly even file federal charges of basically providing false information to a government agent.
The toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can share your thoughts on Harambe, D's Nuts, or whatever it is that's on your mind. This is Free Talk Live.
I'm Governor Gary Johnson. I'll be on the ballot for president in all 50 states. If a Democrat is elected president, if a Republican is elected president, in 4 years we will still be at war. America will be 4 years deeper in debt. We will have 4 more years of rising taxes, bigger government, crony capitalism instead of free markets, and less freedom. How do we know this? Because that's what both parties keep delivering. If you're an optimist, you know that one day America will have its act together. One day we won't be at war. One day taxes will be fair. One day our social and economic challenges will be conquered, not by force, but by cooperation and mutual respect. To the independent majority of Americans who feel as I do, I say, why wait one more day?
Our best America yet. Johnson Weld, 2016.
Paid for by Gary Johnson, 2016.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Injury Help Desk is responsible for this advertisement. Principal office, Las Vegas, Nevada. This ad is not legal advice, and the choice of a lawyer should not be based solely upon advertisement. Services may not be available in all states.
Attention prescription antibiotic drug users. Have you or a loved one suffered an aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm after taking the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avelox? These popular antibiotic drugs have been prescribed more than 80 million times since 2004, and medical studies show an increased risk of the following injuries: aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, and abdominal aortic aneurysm. If you or a loved one used the prescription antibiotic drugs Levaquin or Avelox and suffered from aortic dissection, aortic aneurysm, or abdominal aortic aneurysm, you may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. Act now. Time is limited to file a claim. You may be entitled to substantial financial compensation. For a free consultation and free information, call Injury Help Desk at 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851. 800-823-3851.
If you're looking for work, there's a piece of paper more important than your resume. It's the cover letter attached if you're snail mailing, or the email to which you attach your resume. Make it 4 short paragraphs. Paragraph 1, say that you're applying for work. The person you're sending to gets a ton of mail about all sorts of things. If you have a password, that's your first sentence. Tom Nelson tells me you and I should meet. Paragraph 2, what you do and how that relates to the opening. Be as specific as possible. Paragraph 3, why you want this particular job. I'm originally from Boston, so I know the market well. I have family and friends in the area, so this would be a homecoming for me. Paragraph 4, unless the job posting stipulates no calls, and I will call you to follow up. Thank you in advance for your time. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
You may already know about the Free Talk Live audio-on-demand phone line at 641-793-9660. Did you know that not only can you listen to Free Talk Live via your phone, you can also leave a message and have it delivered to Free Talk Live's hosts? To leave us your thoughts, just dial 641-793-9660. That's 641-793-9660. Press 2 for Free Talk Live, and then hit 0 to leave your message.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is down $12 at $1,343 per ounce, and silver is down 38 cents at $19.42 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $573 US. If you've thought about buying gold or silver, but didn't know how or what to buy, we can help. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. Join us on the radio waves here. Toll-free number 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, it's Ian.
And Daryl.
Liberland, the European micronation, has recently had recognition proposed by 7 Polish legislators. And this is something that's really important to the folks who are putting Liberland together. They want to get recognized as a nation. Now, as libertarians, most of us realize the idea of nations is just an idea, and in fact, you could argue a dangerous one. But unfortunately, in this world that we live, people believe in this idea, and so in order to have a place that is recognized by those people, you've got to play that game to some extent. And that's what they're doing with Liberland. It's not that they're not libertarian or they're not voluntarists or whatever. There's some really principled folks involved in Liberland, from what I understand. And if you want to learn more about Liberland, you can go to liberland.org. Lots of libertarians are behind it, like Roger Ver, the owner of Bitcoin.com. He has stated and has put up his financial support for Liberland. In fact, it's been said the base of the economy in Liberland is Bitcoin. In fact, over 100,000 people have requested citizenship through their website at liberland.org, but it's a small place, so in order to qualify for that citizenship, you've got to substantially contribute to the growth of Liberland. Already, the Chicago Journal of International Law released a 35-page essay making the case for statehood for Liberland. So when will this happen? Well, they're working on it right now, and you can help them out. Liberland.org. As we continue here with interesting polling numbers coming from Texas, public policy polling releasing data that shows that 2% would vote for Jill Stein, while 2% would also vote for Harambe, the dead gorilla. And then 3% would vote for Deez Nuts. Now, however, Stein was not put up against Harambe and Deez Nuts, nor was Johnson. And it would be interesting to see Johnson go up against Deez Nuts. But unfortunately, I don't know if that particular poll has been taken.
Probably not.
But kudos to Public Policy Polling for releasing that. And there's actually another detail here that I had a completely separate story about, so I might as well mention that. And that is that, again, Texas polling only here. They asked some questions about Texas secession and found that 26% of the voters in Texas would support the Lone Star State leaving the United States. However, among Trump voters, the support for secession goes up to 37%. Cron.com reporting on that story, finding that 3 out of 5 Texans who support Trump want secession if Hillary becomes president. So, again, very interesting that you've got a tremendous amount of people in Texas who are ready to call it quits from the United States.
And also some strange stuff on that Texas poll. Apparently, even though Texas is considered a conservative state, 89% of those surveyed support background checks on all gun purchases.
Wow, that's terrible.
Compared to only 7% who oppose them. 94% of Democrats support that, 91% of Republicans, 80% of self-described independents.
So if you want to join us, you can. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. And I'd love to see more questions about secession. I really would love to see more frequent polling about secession. The last poll I can recall was like 2014, where a major polling firm did ask a question nationally about secession. They had results from across the country as far as what regions of the country believed in secession right now. And I think it's more relevant than it's ever been. It's more of a relevant question now than ever because people feel even more strongly about this election than they did the previous one. At least that's the way it seems. They're more frustrated now with their choices. Most people are not going to be happy whether or not it's Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump that wins. And so now's the time to start stirring that secession pot, getting people talking about it as a real possibility. And I always like to ask this question: is why would you want to stay in the United States? Besides the fear that the United States federal government will bomb you to death, what is the real reason to stay in the United States?
The other sort of big objection is, well, if fill-in-the-blank state is an independent country, then they'll just get invaded by, fill-in-the-blank, whatever country is closest.
Of course, that statement presumes that the U.S. military is actually protecting those states to some extent, and it seems to me like they're spread out all across the globe.
Right, but, like the claim is, well, if New Mexico secedes, then they'll just get invaded by Mexico. Or
ridiculous.
If New Hampshire or Montana or North Dakota or any state that borders Canada secedes, the Canadian Army will just march in.
Yeah,
as if the Canadian Army has any interest in trying to invade now.
Highly doubtful. So, yeah, of course you can bring up anything that you want. Venezuela, things are getting insane down there. Now, you want to invade Venezuela? Well, you can, because the police have crushed and chopped up nearly 2,000 shotguns and pistols. The story coming from Reuters in a Caracas city square on Wednesday as the new Interior Minister relaunched a long-stalled gun control campaign in one of the world's most crime-ridden countries. Interior Minister Nestor Revero said the event marked the renewal of efforts to disarm Venezuelans through a combination of seizures and voluntary programs to swap guns for electrical goods. Venezuela has the world's second highest murder rate, and the street gangs that plague its poor neighborhoods become increasingly heavily armed in recent years at a time when a deep recession has reduced resources available to the police. Not to mention, it has reduced food available to everybody in the country. There was a story recently about Venezuela opening up their border for folks to go shopping in Colombia, and then another one that Brazil, apparently, the border was... They were able to shop in Brazil for a period of time as well. It was very interesting.
Yeah, and I think each time the border opens up, there's always a few people that defect.
Oh, yeah. I think they estimated like 10,000 left when the 100,000 or so crossed over from Venezuela into Colombia. So people are getting the hell out if they possibly can, but many people are stuck there. At least they feel like they are. They're too poor to be able to feel like they can leave with any amount of success. And they're too poor to be able to actually buy any food, because you probably want to have some food if you're going to journey through the wilderness or the woods or whatever to try to get to Colombia. You probably want to have a few snack bars or something like that to sustain yourself on the journey. And given that you can't really find any food in Venezuela unless you're buying it through the black market
or going to the zoo
to poach some animals.
Yeah, because remember we talked about that a few weeks ago, where they're actually eating the zoo animals that haven't starved to death.
They should have sent Harambe down there. Venezuela, second highest murder rate, and gangs often get their weapons from the police, either by stealing them or buying them from corrupt officers, say the experts. With inflation, because after all, if you're a cop, you're probably not eating that much better than everybody else.
Yeah.
So why not just take some stolen guns that the police department has confiscated and then sell them on the black market?
And
so
also bullets.
So you can feed your family. Gangs, inflation of 185% in 2015 and a currency collapse, police salaries. Why are they citing it? Oh, I know why. Because the Venezuelan government stopped reporting on their inflation numbers. I think it was the beginning of 2016.
Yeah, beginning of this year, they stopped reporting on it because in order to be in hyperinflation, there has to be an official inflation rate over a certain percentage.
Estimates believe that they are in the several hundreds of percents inflation rate. We can talk more about the gun situation in Venezuela, and you can bring up anything on Free Talk Live.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow, a new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
In these uncertain times, it makes sense to have a sustainable backup method to cook food and boil water. If your current plan includes using a fuel-burning stove or cooking over an open fire, then there's a much better way. The Minuteman Rocket Stove is a biomass-burning cooking stove that only requires small quantities of sticks and twigs for fuel. The Minuteman stove is easy to use, smokeless, portable, powerful, and sustainable. For the finest in survival cooking stoves and fire starters made right here in the USA, go to MinutemanStove.com. That's MinutemanStove.com.
Free Talk Live.
You know, you got to give those guys credit, though. Jesse Jackson, Al Sharpton, they've established this for themselves. And who are the Hispanic leaders? Who are the Chinese leaders? It's a brilliant marketing plan on their part to get them radio interviews and all kinds of appearances and sell books for them. But otherwise, that's really all it is for them.
Right, and then when you call them out exactly what you said, if you are a black person, you are supposed to get upset when they tell you to get upset. Me and a lot of other people who are black, we've grown up. I'm 55 going on 56. I don't see color. I see people. I see behavior. I see morals. I see values. I don't see the color of a person's skin. That does not dictate how I should interact with that person. Their behavior, their morals and values dictate how I interact with them.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
Hi, I'm Derek J. I don't want a politician to represent me. To me, government is the idea that one group of people can coerce everyone to comply with an edict or face increasing punishments up to and including death. Despite perhaps the most noble of intentions, the best government services are a far cry from what could be provided for by voluntary interactions. Besides, the people who call themselves the government wage wars and put peaceful people in jail for crimes involving no victims. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You may join us on the radio waves here. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Skype username is lrn.fm. If you've got Bitcoin, I want you to check out the official wallet of Free Talk Live. And it just got better. We were talking about how there are going to be more cryptocurrencies coming to the Jaxx wallet. Well, now they have Dash. You can get Bitcoin, Ether, and Dash all in the same wallet. And you can use the Shapeshift integration that's now built into Jaxx to transition frictionlessly, easily from one cryptocurrency to another. So if you want to take your Bitcoin and change it into Ether or change it into Dash or vice versa, you can do that without even having to leave the Jaxx wallet. That is super handy. I don't know if any other wallets have that. Jaxx.io, Jaxx.io is where you can go to download it. It's cross-platform, so you can get it for your smartphone, tablet computer, your laptop, your desktop, Windows, Mac, iOS, Android, Linux. So whatever operating system you've got, Jax is there for you. And it was created by Free Talk Live listener and supporter Anthony DiOrio. He's also the creator of CryptoKit. And it's really easy to back up your wallet with Jax, which is one of the first things you should do, is do that backup. That way, if your phone falls into the toilet or something awful like that happens, it's not the end of the world. You can just reinstall Jax, do the backup, and you got access to your crypto again. Jax is striving to give you command over your digital life, coins, contracts, currencies, identity, and more. It's your digital command center in the palm of your hand. Jax, the official wallet of Free Talk Live, JAXX.io. It's Ian and Daryl, as normal, in the studio here tonight. We're joined for the rest of the show by Bud.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, Bud. Always good to have you on here. You're our special guest host, and we're going to talk about why you're joining us specifically tonight. I mean, besides the fact that I enjoy having you here. And
oh, well, thank you.
I've got some news. I've got some news coming up that you might be able to comment on here in moments.
Now, Ian, you had asked the question about where are people crossing from Venezuela into Brazil because it looks like all forest.
It does look that way, yes.
There is a single road that I'm seeing on Google Maps just south of the town Santa Elena de Huarén in Venezuela. There's a road, number 10. I don't know if that's, Venezuelan Route 10 or whatever it is, but on Google Maps, it's got the number 10, and then on the Brazilian side, it's got the number 174. That appears to be the only place on the border with an actual road. So my guess is somewhere around there on that road.
Yeah, apparently the city is Pacaraima, and I'll tell you more about that here in moments. But we were talking about the Venezuelan government confiscating people's guns. Now, Bud, you've lived your whole life in the Keene, New Hampshire area, correct?
That's correct.
So you probably grew up with guns.
Yeah, they're everywhere.
That's New Hampshire. I mean, I like to say the Democrats have guns in New Hampshire. I mean, New Hampshire is just a kind of a...
Everybody does.
It's true. It's a special place, and so if you grow up with that, it would be shocking to realize the level of oppression that people in the rest of, not just the rest of the United States, because it's pretty bad in places like New York or Chicago or California, but outside of the United States, it's even worse in a lot of cases, and now in Venezuela, they are literally destroying 2,000 of them. Just this last week, apparently Wednesday, just on Wednesday, they crushed and chopped up nearly 2,000 shotguns and pistols in a relaunched, long-stalled gun control campaign. And when I was watching the We Are Change video where Luke Radowski and Jeff Berwick go down into Caracas, they actually have large signs up that remind you that guns aren't allowed in Venezuela.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the punishment is if you get caught with one, but given that we've seen how bad the jails are in Venezuela, I sure as hell wouldn't want to end up in that place.
I'd rather not test the theory either.
Actually, it was the jails in the Philippines, but I bet you the Venezuelan jails aren't so great either. With inflation of they say here 185% in 2015. We know it's like 700% now. The state stopped giving the inflation numbers. It says here police salaries have fallen behind rising prices, creating more incentives for corruption. So normally, when it comes to running a corrupt state, like all states are corrupt, but Venezuela's worse than most of them. You want to take care of your police. If you've got the funds and you're oppressing your people, you want the oppressors to, at the very least, be fed well. You want the oppressors to have roofs over their heads, to have their families taken care of. Because if you're oppressing, if your oppressing force, the police department in this case, is not, if they're starving,
they're not going to
show up. They're not going to show up. If the paychecks bounce, if the people are, if the oppressors are starving, you're going to find that fewer and fewer of them are willing to put their lives on the line to keep your state in tip-top order.
You don't have to worry about the check bouncing. We've got direct deposit. We just add
zeros to the end.
Zeros in on the computer.
President Nicolas Maduro promoted the interior minister this month, days after the United States accused the former anti-drug czar of taking bribes from cocaine traffickers. Mr. Riverol told reporters, quote, "We are going to bring disarmament and peace." Because that's worked so well in Chicago. Oh, no. There's been, a few hundred murders there or something like that?
Yeah.
This year, mostly by guns. Yeah, police officers drilled and sawed away at rusty shotguns, homemade pistols, and some newer weapons. Other guns were crushed in truck-mounted presses. Some members of the public watched, although more danced to a nearby sound system playing salsa music. Venezuela has also brought laser technology to mark ammunition, said Reveral, in an attempt to keep a registry of the bullets given out to the South American nation's many state and municipal police forces. So the idea is because the police are suspected of being the ones who are funneling the confiscated guns back into the country, well, now they're going to start marking the bullets that the police have in their custody.
Right. So we're not registering the guns; we're registering the bullets. And it's something that I don't know if you ever listened to Chris Rock stand up, but a while back he had made a joke about. Yeah, you don't need gun control. You need bullet control. Just, tax the bullets to where it costs $5,000 for a bullet. And then people will be like, yeah, I ain't that mad at you. I got to, hold on to my bullets because I could only afford one of them.
This is so bad, though, that the experts say that much of the ammunition used in crimes in Venezuela is made at the government's munitions factory and then sold by corrupt police. So that's why they're registering the police bullets, because the police are so corrupt that they are the ones who are selling all these. So.
It's just a huge mess down there.
It absolutely is.
Maybe we need to send some old reruns of the Andy Griffith Show, because remember Barney had a bullet that he always kept in his pocket. So, all right, give your cops a single bullet and make them keep it in their pocket.
And they can sign their name on it. Let's go to Joe. He's in Huntsville, Alabama, listening to WBHP. Hey, Joe. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
I was just commenting on the whole diplomatic passports thing. I used to work as a security guard at U.S. embassies, and I had a diplomatic passport.
Sweet.
It doesn't give you diplomatic immunity. It really did nothing special.
Oh,
for
man,
me.
so the movies aren't right about that, huh? That's too bad.
Not at all. I think it's really just some of the higher up officials, like the ambassador and maybe a few of the bigwigs at the embassy. They have an agreement between the two countries. So just giving somebody that black passport isn't really going to do them any good.
And how far would, even if you could get diplomatic immunity, I mean, that doesn't apply to things like murder or rape, does it?
I can't imagine. I don't know the specifics. But, I'm sure it's probably petty offenses,
I mean, because remember Lethal Weapon 2, the bad guy in that movie?
Nope.
He's like, he had diplomatic immunity, and, Riggs or whatever his name, Murtaugh, just shoots him dead at the end. Like, I don't give an F what you got.
Yeah.
Never saw
it. I knew there was a guy before me. He had a diplomatic passport, and he was doing a kind of similar thing like the Olympians were doing in Rio, got caught by the police urinating in public. He actually got kicked out of the country. He got PNG, that was persona non grata, meaning he's not welcome in that country ever again.
Wow. Joe, thanks for sharing that tonight, man. Good expert advice. I appreciate it. Toll-free number tonight, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Join us on Free Talk Live.
You think that you're rescuing them, but honestly, they're going to end up rescuing you. You don't know what they've gone through, and they're not going to be perfect. And they are so happy that you are taking a chance on them to be a part of your family. I urge you to go down to your local shelters, pounds, dog rescues, foundations, you name it, and rescue a dog. Once you get your rescue dog, you should definitely order some Dinovite. Go online and order it. DINOVITE.com. Dinovite. It's awesome stuff. 90 days of Dinovite will make your dog a happy dog. It will help them with their overall health. You don't need to spend thousands on vet bills. Dinovite is the best thing that's ever happened to my dogs, besides me, of course. Call 859-428-1000.
859-428-1000.
DINOVITE.com.
Technically, I wasn't invited to this wedding, but you can stroll into any event with a camera and people will assume you're the photographer. This bag's holding more than cameras. It's also got an RFID scanner that's picking up all your personal information. Debit cards, credit cards, even that key to your office. So while the bride's taking his last name, I'll be taking yours. Say cheese!
Do you have a stronghold on your identity? ID Stronghold pioneered RFID blocking technology over a decade ago. For about the same price as an unprotected wallet, you can get a stronghold on your credit cards, license, and other critical data with ID Stronghold wallets, card sleeves, and purses. Other RFID blocking technology simply isn't the same. Check the label. If it's not an ID Stronghold, it's probably weak.
I'm Walt Augustinowicz, founder and CEO of ID Stronghold. Protect yourself from crimes you can't see with ID Stronghold wallets in bifold, trifold, and the popular mini style.
Get the original RFID blocking wallet. IDstronghold.com.
Okay, nurse, let's get this man to the ER stat.
Right away, doctor.
We see this every day. Heart attack or angina pain due to blocked and clogged arteries. Chelation can remove obstructions or blockages from arteries and help avoid painful and expensive surgery. Now there's Angioprim. It's a liquid oral chelation product that you take with juice. You start to feel the results fast. Angioprim increases blood flow all over the body, and that means more energy and strength to take on the day with less aches and pains. 60 years of research has gone into chelation, and Angioprim is the result. A safe and easy way to unblock your veins and arteries from buildup that slow circulation.
Paging Dr. Jones. Please report to the emergency room right away.
Log on now for a special radio offer from Angioprim. That's angioprim.com/radio. ANGIOPRIM. Angioprim.com/radio or call 877-882-7221. That's 877-882-7221.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com. Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. Join us toll free here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Skype username is lrn.fm. We're talking about the insanity in Venezuela, which just continues to get worse now with thousands of guns being confiscated. Well, I guess they were already confiscated, but now they've been crushed and chopped up in a Caracas city square this week, where there's now relaunching of a long-stalled gun control campaign in one of the world's most crime-ridden countries. By the way, second most murders in the entire world. I don't know where number one is, but it used to be... what was that South American country where they were going to have like a libertarian enclave?
Chile?
No, that wasn't. Well, that was one of them. But anyway, pretty outrageous story here. They're taking away people's guns, and they're talking about marking the ammunition in the country that's given to the police, because it's the corrupt cops who are the ones that are selling their own ammunition on the black market to people, not just criminals, by the way, but people who want to, like, keep a gun around, considering it's the second most murdering place in the world.
I wonder when they'll just give up.
Who?
The government.
Of Venezuela?
Yeah.
That's the thing with governments. They just seem to push to the bitter, bitter end. You know, why would they give up? I mean, they're still successfully managing to... I imagine Nicolas Maduro is fairly well fed. He doesn't look like he's having a tough time there. So some of these government guys are probably doing just fine, living off the whatever little bit of productivity the country has left. But, why do they don't just shut it down and walk away? I would think the smart ones would. Yeah. Like the smarter government officials who've managed to stack enough cash to make their life pretty decent, like they've got enough U.S. dollars that they've managed to save up somehow, they should just take a walk, because at some point this is going to get pretty ugly.
Yeah.
And that's
right, but they're probably thinking, all right, so I've done this well so far. How much better can I do? It's sort of like the guy that stays at the poker table. Right, it's the guy that stays at the poker table. He's like, I've already taken, I've got this huge stack of chips. I can take a little bit more. I can take a little bit more.
Yeah, but at least there you have a chance to win. I get what you're saying. That could very well be the mentality, what if I'm missing out on more extortion or, extraction of wealth. But at the very least, you should know that this train ain't going to ride forever. Whereas in gambling,
they need to listen to the Kenny Rogers song, "The Gambler." You've got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money sitting at the table. There's plenty of time for counting when the dealing's done.
That's right. Good advice. Unfortunately, I think you're right. They probably are blinded by the power, probably are blinded by whatever amounts of wealth they are successfully able to extract from folks. But unlike gambling, where there is some skill involved in a lot of gambling, like if you can count cards, for instance, you probably are going to do better than the people that you're sitting with if you're playing blackjack. So there's some level of skill involved in gambling and the chance that things are going to get better for you. Whereas in Venezuela, there's almost no chance that things are going to get better in Venezuela.
You're really good at, fooling yourself and lying to yourself if you think that it is.
Right, but again, we're talking about the higher-ups that are, profiting off of the corruption.
Correct.
They're probably thinking, I can make another, however many $1,000 US or $1 million or whatever it is that they're, at right now. They're probably thinking, I can make this much more.
Well, like the drug dealers that don't quit, right? Even when they're on top. If you've ever seen Blow with Johnny Depp back in the day, a great movie.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad's another example of it, where they're just bringing in the money, and even though they've got stacks and stacks or like a pallet full of cash, it's still never enough. They got to keep going back for more.
He's got and I know some people are going to want me to say spoiler warning. Screw you.
Well, say spoiler warning. I appreciate that. Thank you.
In Breaking Bad, the guy has one of these storage units that's just like full of cash, and he still wants more. He has no clue how much money he has because like some of it's in 20s, some of it's 10, some's 5, some's 1s, and he's I don't know, but I need more.
You can join us here, toll-free number 855-450-FREE, to Skype, where Parker is on the line in Washington. Parker, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, guys. So I'm not sure if you saw my message in the Skype, but I
No, we're doing a talk show. We don't generally read text messages.
And even if we did, the people listening absolutely did not.
Right. So why don't you just tell us what you were trying to say?
So what I wonder is, what is your ballpark estimate on if and or when the U.S. government will totally collapse?
How does anybody even answer a question like that? I mean, you don't have any idea.
23 years ago, when the national debt was getting ready to hit what at the time I thought was this astronomical number of, ready for this, $4 trillion. I was thinking, this can't last much longer.
23 years ago, you thought.
Yeah.
Well, and also, if you look at the collapse of various different governments around the years and around the world, you look at the Soviet Union, a lot of people will say no one saw it coming. I mean, they knew it would happen eventually, but they didn't know exactly that it was going to be, 1989, I think it was, when things finally started.
That's when the Berlin Wall fell, and that's when things kind of started going south for the Soviet Union. I think it was 1990 or 91 when the Soviet Union officially collapsed after all of the Soviet republics had declared their independence.
And, looking back, you can probably find someone who said, I knew it was going to fail in 1991. I was correct in my prediction. But most people had no idea when that was going to happen. Even though you know that communism and the forced redistribution of wealth is a failed policy from the get-go, these guys have a lot of tricks up their sleeve that they can just keep on pulling out those cards and
Venezuela is a lot closer to officially collapsing than the U.S. is. And if I were to say 6 months, 12 months, 3 years, I'm only speculating.
Right. And any one of those choices could be right.
And all of them could be absolutely wrong.
So, yeah, it just doesn't even make sense for us to even take a shot at predicting something like that.
Okay, so what do you think is going to be the prime reason or the prime causation of total collapse?
Again, any answer is going to be pure speculation. As I said, 23 years ago, I thought because we had a $4 trillion debt, things would collapse.
Yeah, I'm not going to take a shot at that one. But Bud, do you want to? Because I'm not going to. It just doesn't make sense to say that.
It's going to be a meteor.
Giant meteor 2016.
Dinosaurs. Bringing back the dinosaurs. We'll clone the T-Rex, and then they'll start having sex, and then retake over the planet. I mean, any of these things are possible. How probable they are, I don't know. I mean, obviously, you could probably go to monetary, fiscal policy, inflation. Usually that does precipitate a nation's collapse as they get desperate and start printing out even more money.
But as does expanding the military to, like this huge monstrosity that you can't actually defend yourself.
True.
Because you're spread all over the globe. That's one of the things that wound up leading to the downfall of the Roman Empire.
Right.
Was the Roman military was spread around the known world of the time.
But they've managed to do that successfully, at least. They've continued to spread their military, the U.S. government, for my entire lifetime. And
I'm sure it'll end up being a plethora of things, a multitude of things coming together.
Well, yeah, it has to. I mean, it has to be. And go ahead, Parker.
Do you guys follow Stefan Molyneux at all?
Nope.
No. I know who he is, and we've had him on as a guest in the past, but he's kind of jumped the shark within the last year or so. And
I'd say probably last 2 or 3.
Yeah, and he started apparently, from what I understand, now I don't know how true this statement is, but as I understand it, he's advocating people vote for Donald Trump.
Yeah, he has jumped the shark in a few ways, but he did come out with this really interesting YouTube video like 2 weeks ago, which is entitled "The Truth About the Fall of the Truth About the Fall of Rome: Modern Parallels." And in many ways, I think that it's accurate. I can't give too many examples.
Well, history does tend to repeat itself because people don't tend to learn the lessons from history. But, I'm sure that's a very interesting video. I've always been a critic of his Truth About series because I think anybody that says they've got the truth about something, look out, because they probably are lying to you or they're crazy. Because how could they possibly?
There's too many different perceptions of what truth in itself actually is.
Exactly. And that's, Stefan Molyneux has been accused of being a cult leader, and there's a lot of kind of just weird stuff about him. And, again, he was a very nice guy. We've had him in the studio. We've interviewed him a number of times in the past. And the fact that he's advocating people vote for Donald Trump is a really disturbing thing, especially after he's made multiple videos saying people shouldn't vote. So now he goes from saying people shouldn't vote to getting behind Donald Trump, and apparently might even be talking about the same race realism stuff that Chris Cantwell's talking about. I don't know. I haven't listened to it.
Vote for no one.
Hour 3's coming up. Thanks, Parker.
For Bitcoin to be ubiquitous, people need to use it. For people to use it, they must have it. How can we get Bitcoin into more hands? Well, tipping might be a great way. What if you could include a bonus Bitcoin tip along with your regular tip to a server? What if that Bitcoin returned to you if unclaimed after 30 days? An attractive business card-sized Bitcoin tip that is easily claimed, gives instructions on wallets, spending, and returns to the user if unused? Tip.freetalklive.com. Tip.freetalklive.com.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phone, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Lil Drums. Every bit as fun as a full-size Nestle drumstick cone and definitely cuter. Visit us at drumstick.com. Vacations are all about family time, but you don't have to leave home to have fun. Take 1 weekend a month and devote it to family activities. Pull out the board games and puzzles, serve up some treats, or have a picnic. Even without leaving home, you'll feel like you've really had some time away. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
Did you know you can watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7
After Saudi Arabian airstrikes against a Doctors Without Borders (MSF) hospital earlier this week killed 19 civilians, including 3 staff members, the aid group is announcing a full-scale evacuation of its staff from all 6 hospitals it operates in northern Yemen. MSF warned that it considers all hospitals in Sada and Hajjah province unsafe for patients and staff because they are at risk of targeting by Saudi warplanes. MSF facilities have been repeatedly targeted since Saudi Arabia invaded Yemen last year. A statement by Doctors Without Borders said they regretted having to withdraw from northern Yemen, but that they have been unable to secure any credible assurances from the Saudi-led coalition that they will stop attacking the hospitals, saying they have no option but to withdraw. Saudi Arabia promised to probe the attack on the hospital, but despite killing thousands over the course of the war so far, they have repeatedly insisted their attacks are not war crimes and that by definition they don't target civilians. When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about greedy corporations, but not all lobbyists are the same. Some are fighting for the freedoms you hold dear. Liberty Lobby LLC is doing just that in New Hampshire, working hard to represent you, not some special interest group. You can help by going to libertylobby.xyz, where your contribution will give us the tools we need to ensure that your voice is heard. Visit libertylobby.xyz today to find out more. UPI reports U.S. Olympic swimming gold medalist Ryan Lochte is not welcome in Rio de Janeiro, accused with 3 others of having lied about being robbed at gunpoint to cover up a drunken episode at a gas station, and then leaving Brazil just steps ahead of the Rio police. The 4 American swimmers claim they were robbed while taking a taxi to the Olympic Village early Sunday after a late party at the Team France house. The 12-time Olympic medalist claimed men posing as police stopped their taxi, forced them onto the ground, and put a gun to his head before making off with his wallet. Investigators say as they looked further into the tale, it began to fall apart. Police say the 4 swimmers did take a taxi back to the village, but stopped at a gas station on the way back and got into a fracas with a security officer there over damage to a restroom door. The gas station owner said Lochte, who later acknowledged being intoxicated, also urinated on the outer wall before leaving. The Americans returned to their cab and tried to leave. The guard pulled his weapon to detain them until Rio police arrived. Security video from the Avenue of the Americas, where the incident occurred, shows the men at the gas station and their spat with the guard. The video also shows them trying to get into a different taxi. The video does not show any signs of an armed robbery. For nearly 40 years, Roberts & Roberts Brokerage has been a trusted source for buying and selling precious metals like gold and silver. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and have permanently removed the minimum purchase amount for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on buying and selling precious metals and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 800-874-9760 or visit online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports a U.S. judge on Thursday rejected an attempt by Uber Technologies to settle a class action lawsuit with drivers who claimed they were employees and entitled to expenses. In a case that has been closely watched in Silicon Valley, where many companies use on-demand workers, U.S. District Judge Edward Chen in San Francisco ruled the settlement was not fair or adequate for Uber drivers. Some drivers had objected to the terms of the settlement, valued at up to $100 million, which would have affected roughly 385,000 current and former drivers in California and Massachusetts. Uber drivers contended in the lawsuit that they should be deemed employees and reimbursed for expenses such as gasoline and vehicle maintenance. Those expenses are now borne by the drivers. The proposed settlement would have kept drivers classified as independent contractors. Several drivers who were part of the lawsuit filed objections with the court. In a statement, Uber said it believed the settlement was fair and reasonable, adding, "We're disappointed in the decision and we're taking a look at our options." Chen noted that part of the proposed settlement, $16 million, would only have been paid to drivers if Uber's valuation grew by a certain benchmark within a year of any initial public offering. The remaining $84 million, Chen said, represented a substantial discount on the full value of driver claims. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
While digital communications coordinator Brian Tyler is considered by many of his coworkers to be the cutest guy around the offices of Western Psychological Publishing Services, employees conceded today the 27-year-old is not even particularly attractive.
Brian gets a lot of attention from girls around here, but if I saw him in a bar, I don't know if I would even notice him. Put him next to Glenn or Mike, and then, sure, he actually looks pretty good.
Co-workers explained to reporters that by everyday standards, Tyler would at best be considered moderately good-looking, but explained that given the abundance of unattractive men at the publishing firm, female employees often go out of their way to make small talk with the 27-year-old at his desk or eat lunch with him in the office kitchen.
I saw him walking to work the other day, and half the guys on the street were easily better looking than him. But here, he's the hottest guy around. It's almost kind of sad. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'd still f him.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. You dial toll free and join us right here. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Skype username is LRN.FM. Joining you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Ian.
And Bud.
And Daryl.
And we're going to go right into your calls and thoughts. Then more about Venezuela, the crackdown on guns, and the somewhat open border. We'll tell you about that here in moments. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And then if we had the chance, the story about Ross Ulbricht, or actually an update on his case, specifically about the DEA agent who was busted for multiple felony charges of corruption. But first, we go to Ricky in Pennsylvania. Go ahead, Ricky. You're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, and good evening.
Hey, what's on your mind tonight?
Well, sorry to say I heard the bad news about Brother Weedman. I got in a little late, but, when I wanted to
Just for the listeners who are just tuning in, you're referring to New Jersey Weedman who had his Weedmobile seized and destroyed by Trenton police. It's absolutely terrible story.
It sure as hell is. See, Ian, maybe everybody can kind of take a listen here. See, I know Jersey. I used to live real close to New Jersey, so close I could smell it. Now, the fact of the matter is, I'll have to thank you, Daryl. I was born there. Hey, it's another story.
All right.
Not in Jersey, but close. Anyways, I was born here. Now, see, what happened with Jersey Weedman couldn't happen here. In fact, if this happened here, he owned New Jersey, not that anybody wants it.
Why? Was there civil asset forfeiture reform or criminal asset forfeiture reform?
Oh, even better. Check it out. Now, here's what happened. Now, this wouldn't happen here, and I'll tell you what he'd have. See, first of all, under the Constitution in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in 1968, the first thing that was violated is Section 1. That's his inherent rights of mankind, and of which he has the right now.
Yeah, but constitutions have stuff like that in them all over the place. I mean, here in New Hampshire,
but you know what?
Hold on, Ricky. Here in New Hampshire, they've got statements about your right to was it the Fourth Amendment here in New Hampshire to the Bill of Rights, which is basically, as I understand it, your right to conscience. Where if your conscience dictates, you should be free to do it, so long as you're not violating somebody else. Basically,
Part 1, Article 3 says that, absent the government providing protection of your rights, any rights you surrendered is void.
Right. So, I mean, you can argue all these things in court, and they're just going to laugh at you.
And according to the Institute for Justice, Pennsylvania gets a D- for its civil forfeiture laws.
So, sounds to me, Ricky, like Pennsylvania's just as bad as New Jersey.
If I may, Ian?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
Just poking holes in you. That's all. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. I don't mind you poking me. But here's the thing. Here's the difference. Since you have it up there, Daryl, pull up the Constitution and check out Section 12. Now, I'm going to tell you what this is. First section that was violated was Section 1. The next section that was violated is search and search and seizure, including destruction of his property. That's a direct violation under 8. Now, here's why this is important. It's pursuant to Section 12 and 25 and 26. I'll explain that. This is how you make these guys take a crap.
Section
You very
12.
simply, hold on, let me
Hold
explain.
on.
You asked him to
You
pull it
asked
up.
me to pull up Section 12. I'm going to read Section 12. No power of suspending laws shall be exercised unless by the legislature or by its authority.
Yeah, what's that have to
Good.
do with
Now,
this
here's
case?
what- that's the first part.
Not a damn
Now, this
thing.
is
It means the
important.
legislature can suspend whatever they want to
Yeah,
as long
Ricky,
as
stop
they vote
making
on it.
stuff
that's
up, dude.
important.
You don't even know what you're talking about.
Sector
I do.
24.
Let me finish. Let me finish. Hello?
Here you are.
Oh, I thought you hung up on me. No, now here.
Not yet.
Nope, we would say thank you for the
1968,
call.
Daryl? Hello?
Yes.
Okay, in 1968, there was a constitutional amendment created. Now, take a look down at Section 26. Now, 25 was first. They added 26 in 1968. Check out 26.
Is he at least right about that fact,
26 says neither the Commonwealth nor any political subdivision thereof shall deny to any person the enjoyment of any civil right, nor discriminate against any person in the exercise of a civil right.
Well, civil rights are different from rights, though, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah. So.
No, they're not.
Yeah, they are, Ricky.
They're not. Let me finish. Section 25. Read Section 25.
To guard against the
And I'll explain the
transgressions.
constitutional amendment.
Do you want me to
Section
read it
25.
or you want a monologue?
Well,
No, you can read it.
Monologue. Go ahead.
To guard against the transgressions of the high powers which we have delegated, we declare that everything in this article is expected out of the general powers of government and shall forever remain inviolate.
Right. Now, let me explain both of those. Now, Section 25's been there ever since 1776 on July 23rd. Now, in 1968, because of the way that people were playing with things, just like the Constitution of the United States of America, which we threw away a long time ago, there was a constitutional amendment created in 1968 for 26. Now, the reason why they did that is if you read the amendment that's noted, I used the copy from the legislature, 1874, with the amendments in line. Now, if you read the amendment, what that says is 26 was added, but 26 has been moved to its current position, which was where 25 was. And 25
Is this one of
was
those
now
constitutional
below 26.
conspiracy theories like that,
not a
the
theory.
13th Amendment
Not a
wasn't
theory.
originally this and that, and so
It's
they
not a
changed it?
theory. Hey, I was just on the phone with the congressman.
Well, you're
talking
full of it,
to me.
Ricky. I mean, look, thanks for the call tonight, man. I mean, we obviously proved you were wrong about what you were saying there. Most of what you just read, Daryl, has nothing whatsoever to do with the rights of the individual. Civil rights is different from actual rights.
Right.
The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Now, maybe I'm going to define this not quite correctly, and please correct me if you think I'm wrong about it, but my understanding was civil rights was always something that was sort of a privilege granted by the state. Not the idea of like the right to free speech or the right to defend oneself. Like those are the pure kind of negative rights. But civil rights were something that was more of a state creation. Is that a right way
according to
describe that?
just did a search for this, and according to Cornell and their legal dictionary on their website, they say a civil right is an enforceable right or privilege which is interfered with by another, gives rise to an action for injury. Examples of civil rights are freedom of speech, press, assembly, the right to vote, freedom from involuntary servitude, and the right to equality in public places. And I think what most people think of when they hear civil rights is that last part, the sort of the last two parts there, the freedom from involuntary servitude and equal access to public places.
Interesting. Okay, maybe it was civil rights versus civil liberties. Maybe that's what I was thinking here. There's a story at findlaw.com. It says that it's important to note the difference between civil rights and civil liberties. The legal area known as civil rights has traditionally revolved around the basic right to be free from unequal treatment based on certain protected characteristics like race, gender, disability, etc., in settings such as employment and housing. Civil liberties concerns basic rights and freedoms that are guaranteed, either explicitly identified in the Bill of Rights and the Constitution or interpreted through the years by courts and lawmakers. So they say it's the civil liberties include freedom of speech, right to privacy, the right to be free from unreasonable search of your home, the right to a fair court trial, the right to marry and vote, whereas civil rights would be unequal treatment based on protected
When you
characteristics.
get sentenced to like probation or parole, they take your civil liberties. You don't have any.
Exactly. Well, you're basically a complete ward of the state.
And I could see an argument under certain situations where freedom of speech, press, assembly could be civil rights if there was some sort of thing of we are going to filter for content and who is having the assembly to determine whether we give the permit. And courts have ruled you're not allowed to do, like government entities that give out permits for parades, they cannot discriminate based on content or who is doing the parade.
Toll-free number tonight, you can join us and bring up whatever's on your mind. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Sometimes we'll take your word for it. Sometimes we'll check your claims. It's Free Talk Live.
People who can afford a LASIK procedure sure are lucky. Imagine being able to throw away your contacts and glasses. Imagine waking up tomorrow with 20/20 vision. Too bad everyone can't afford LASIK. Well, guess what? There's a company that agrees with you. The LASIK Vision Institute is now offering dramatically low prices on high-quality LASIK to make it affordable for everyone. That means you get the latest FDA-approved LASIK technology for a fraction of what others charge. And if you call right now, we'll schedule a free appointment so you can discover if LASIK is right for you. Results may vary. Call 1-800-939-5479. Even better, if you're one of the first 100 callers, ask about an extra 20% discount off our already low-cost services. We've already performed over 1 million procedures. Let us help you. Discover how you can get the quality LASIK experience you deserve at a fraction of what others charge. For your free appointment, call 1-800-939-5479. 1-800-939-5479.
Technically, I wasn't invited to this wedding, but you can stroll into any event with a camera and people will assume you're the photographer. This bag's holding more than cameras. It's also got an RFID scanner that's picking up all your personal information. Debit cards, credit cards, even that key to your office. So while the bride's taking his last name, I'll be taking yours. Say cheese.
Do you have a stronghold on your identity? ID Stronghold pioneered RFID blocking technology over a decade ago. For about the same price as an unprotected wallet, you can get a stronghold on your credit cards, license, and other critical data with ID Stronghold wallets, card sleeves, and purses. Other RFID blocking technology simply isn't the same. Check the label. If it's not an ID Stronghold, it's probably weak.
I'm Walt Augustinowicz, founder and CEO of ID Stronghold. Protect yourself from crimes you can't see with ID Stronghold wallets in bifold, trifold, and the popular mini style.
Get the original RFID blocking wallet. IDstronghold.com.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper FPP News at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
For years, LRN.FM has had a listen line that you can call and listen to LRN.FM anytime. Now we're taking the idea to a new level with the LRN.FM audio on demand line. You can call 641-793-9660 anytime and listen to LRN.FM's live feed, and you can listen to a bunch of our original shows on demand. Long distance fees may apply. Just dial 641-793-9660 and choose from the menu 641-793-9660.
Are you a political activist who does things that the government might not like? Then this free ebook may save your life. Rats is your guide to protecting yourself against snitches, informers, informants, agents provocateur, narcs, finks, and similar vermin. Rats was written by OG libertarian Claire Wolfe. Rats is a short book, easy to read, and available free in many formats. Download Rats free at rats-nosnitch.com. That's rats-nosnitch.com.
If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live. You may join us right here toll free, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Bitcoin.com is your premier source for everything Bitcoin related. You can get help buying Bitcoins or choosing a Bitcoin wallet, read the latest news, or engage with the community on the Bitcoin forum. You can find places to spend your Bitcoin or play online games with the cryptocurrency. It's the source for all your Bitcoin needs and news, Bitcoin.com. As we go back to your calls and thoughts, we've got Jack. He's in Santa Rosa, California. Jack, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hi, it's Jackie.
Oh, Jackie, I apologize about. There was an I after that K. I thought it was Jack and then an exclamation point. I couldn't read it. Sorry about that.
And actually, it's spelled Jacque.
Oh.
But anyway, my question is about Venezuela. So I don't buy that the Venezuela crisis is due to pure socialism. I think that it also had its foundations in the fact that they had a dictatorship and that they had bought into that oil would be their biggest export, and they simply stopped doing any other kind of work other than the oil. And when the oil prices started to dip, so did their income.
So are you suggesting that socialism had nothing to do with the collapse in Venezuela?
No, I'm not suggesting that it had nothing to do with it. What I am suggesting is that it was not the only thing. I mean, it wasn't just socialism that brought them down. There was a catalyst behind it that also brought them down.
Well, socialism was a huge factor, but you're right. There are other factors that played in, but socialism made those worse. So, example, you brought up the oil thing, and there's no doubt that the fall in the price of oil hurt the economy in Venezuela. No doubt about that.
Right, but especially considering that the oil industry in Venezuela was run by the state.
That was the point I was going to be making there. The fact that the state nationalized at some point the oil there, and the socialism, which is where the state runs industry directly. Socialism doesn't work. Centralized price setting doesn't work. Centralized command and control, doesn't work very well at all compared to the marketplace setting prices and deciding how to
exchange
do business.
Rates of currency that have been set by the state at like a very subpar level.
Yeah, that's I think one of the biggest factors. The fact that the state set the exchange rate at $1 to 6.3 bolivars, and by the way, it's the strong bolivar, the Bolivar Fuerte, which was introduced, I don't know, 10 or 15 years ago or something like that. So they'd already had a bunch of inflation of the old bolivar, and then they brought the strong bolivar in to try to fix that, which of course you can't fix it by renaming the currency or whatever.
Back in 2008, so 8 years ago.
Yeah, so many years ago, they brought the strong bolivar in. So it was $1 to 6.3 strong bolivars. They finally upped it to 1 to 10, which is nothing, because by the time they changed it from 1 to 6.3 to 1 to 10, the black market rate was around 700 to 1,000 bolivars per U.S. dollar. Wow. So just to explain further what that means, it means that if somebody wanted to sell products in Venezuela that were coming from outside of the country, which a lot of products in Venezuela that were sold were imported. So they're importing toilet paper. This is the classic example. Pallet full of toilet paper if Bud, you're the toilet paper salesman, and I'm the businessman in Venezuela who wants to buy a pallet full of toilet paper from you, you're going to tell me, no bolivar, por favor, necesito dólares, because you want dollars. You don't want bolivars because nobody wants bolivars. Nobody in the world market is going to take a bunch of bolivars off of your hands.
Right, and we even talked about how bad it is to where the Venezuelan government cannot even pay the people that they're contracting to print the Bolivar Fuerte.
That came out this year. It had gotten really bad this year. But so if you want to sell a pallet full of toilet paper, you have to sell it to the person for dollars. But if I'm a legal business person, I can't on the up and up buy them from you with dollars because I have to use the bolivar. I'm forced by the government to use bolivar. I can't take bolivar into a bank in Venezuela because of government rules. I can't take the bolivar into the banks and say, oh, I'd love to turn in 10 bolivars per dollar, because the government knows, even though they don't acknowledge the black market rate, they know the black market rate exists. And again, right now, if you check dollartoday.com, there's a great website that'll actually show you what the current black market rate is. And it was, last time I looked, more than 1,000 bolivars per dollar. So if you could go into a bank and exchange 10 bolivar for $1, everyone would do it, right? And then, the black market, then they go out and get the black market rate for it. But the government doesn't want that to happen, so they won't allow it to happen. So you have no way of turning the bolivars into dollars unless you do it in the black market. And then, of course, you aren't legally buying the pallet full of toilet paper. They'll put handcuffs on your wrists if you get caught doing that. So as a result, you can't find toilet paper in Venezuela, and then you can't find chicken, and then you can't find rice, and then you can't, because nobody's going to sell you anything. You can't get anything in this country unless it's on the black market now. And so all of these socialist policies are what have really drawn that country down, and it has aggravated the problems that you've identified, like the oil situation and more.
And when they switched from the Bolivar to the Bolivar Fuerte back in 2008, they set the valuation to where 1,000 Bolivar was worth 1 Bolivar Fuerte.
Oh my God, I didn't realize it was that bad.
Yeah, it was 1,000 to 1.
Wow. So that's my answer, Jackie. Your thoughts?
Yep. Yes, and I agree with you, but I do not agree that socialism in of itself, without the other things that happen, like the government controlling everything else.
But that's what socialism is.
Okay. Oh,
socialism is a economic order where the government runs industry. Basically, the more government is running industry, the more socialist your country is. Also, forced wealth redistribution is pretty common in socialism. So there still are some private companies in Venezuela, the few that
not very many anymore,
are bravely trying to keep their doors open. But many of them have been nationalized by the country's government, which means stealing them from the hands of the private owners, and then just taking them for the government's own use.
And the ones that are nominally private are being told by government actors, you must sell these things below cost so that people can buy groceries that you actually don't have in stock because you can't afford to buy anything. But what you do have, you have to sell below cost.
Which means you're going to go out of business, because if you keep selling... Go ahead.
From what I understand, socialism is an economic system, correct?
Generally, yeah.
Okay. And so their political system was more of a dictatorship.
Well, there's an opposition party.
It's an economic system tied to a political system.
In the Venezuelan government, there is an opposition party. So it's not just, one guy who's in charge of everything. He seems to be a dictator, but he technically isn't, in that someone could run against him and has, but ultimately they haven't been successful at unseating him. Although there is a recall petition that is sort of working its way through the system there right now. Maduro's trying his best to stand in the way of it, but he's not a dictator in the same way as a classic dictator would be.
He's not a dictator the way that Fidel Castro was a dictator.
Good call, Jackie. I appreciate you calling with the question, and thank you so much for making it tonight here. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. There was recently a seizing of the Pilar warehouse, and the government is going to turn it into some sort of a housing complex. It's Free Talk Live.
ProPure water filters, making water great again. Taste and feel the difference with state-of-the-art filter technology. Pro 1 G2.0 and Pro Max filters are independent lab-tested to NSF standards. Choose from Gravity, countertop, pitcher, shower, and inline filtration products. There's a ProPure for you. Buy risk-free today. Visit your authorized ProPure dealer for details or ProPureUSA.com. That's ProPureUSA.com.
So you've got to take a state construction license exam or certification. Can't decide on what books or what chapters to study? Discover right now how you can eliminate unnecessary books and wasted study time. At contractorexam.com, our study materials zero in on state-required test topics in an effective, multiple-choice format. So whether you're a plumber, electrician, general contractor, or other construction-related trade, contractorexam.com will help get you prepared. Visit us at www.contractorexam.com today.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com.
This is your Roberts & Roberts Brokerage Daily Precious Metals Update. In early trading Friday, gold is down $12 at $1,343 per ounce, and silver is down 38 cents at $19.42 per ounce. Bitcoin is currently trading at $573 US. If you've thought about buying gold or silver, but didn't know how or what to buy, we can help. Call Roberts & Roberts Brokerage today at 800-874-9760 or visit us online at rrbi.co.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1. Share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2. Buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3. Give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com. Every once in a while, you get information that's worth changing your life for. This is one such time. You can save up to and beyond 25% on all purchases at Amazon. You probably heard of Bitcoin and just not thought much about it. You certainly know that you can get competitive pricing at Amazon, but now you can get a 25% discount on nearly everything you need to live. I've just given you a huge raise, and all you have to do is claim it. You go to saveitpurse.com and open an account. Do this right now. Don't wait. Then you fund the account with Bitcoin. I know this sounds unbelievable, but at my house, we saved as much as 45% off of a new item on Amazon. This information is worth you changing the way you do things. Go to saveitpurse.com right now, get signed up, and cash in on the huge raise I'm offering you. 15 to 25% off of everything at Amazon through saveitpurse.com. It's saveatpurse.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
It's Free Talk Live. Coming up, Bud's going to tell us about a controversial fundraiser that we've set up. Some people are outraged. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. It's Ian, Bud, and Daryl in the studio here tonight. Venezuela crushing thousands of guns. We were talking about the economic situation there and the socialist policies that led to all of this. You can, of course, bring up anything that's on your mind. Also, because people are basically starving in Venezuela. The government has seen to it to actually allow people to cross the border for temporary periods of time in order to go shopping. We can give you an update on that here as well. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Let's continue with your calls and thoughts. Sarah's in Albuquerque. You're on Free Talk Live. Hello, Sarah.
Yes, I just wanted to mention that, did you know the election day in Australia is actually a holiday?
Did you know that elections in Australia also are mandatory?
Yep. She knows.
Well, the thing is that you have to pay $20, want somebody else to decide for you, like they do in America. Like 90% of the 90% of the voters, they all want somebody else to do it for them.
Oh, what you're saying is that they'll charge you if you don't go and vote.
That's called a fine, which is what they do
right.
if you wind up violating a law.
What happens if you? Yeah, what happens if you don't pay the fine?
I have no idea what they do over there.
Well, guess what? When you don't pay a fine with the government, they'll put you in a jail cell most of the time. You think that's what should happen to people who don't vote?
Well, I think it's $20 is like reasonable. It's like
I didn't ask you that. I asked you, do you think people should go to jail who don't vote?
Well, not so much, but you know what? Why should they make everybody else decide for them? That's a lazy cop-out attitude.
Maybe they don't care. Maybe their viewpoint is, you know what? Donald Trump, Hillary Clinton, it doesn't matter who wins because we're going to get screwed.
Or perhaps they feel they're perpetuating a system that doesn't benefit them.
For sure.
Or they're, partaking in something called civil disobedience, which is where you decide to violate an unjust law.
On purpose.
On purpose. I've had people question me, mainly Ernest Hancock from freedomsphoenix.com. He asks all the time, Daryl, still voting? Yeah, Ernie, I am. You want to know 2 ways to get Daryl to not vote, Ernie? He's like, yeah, tell me. Said, all right. So you either get a statute passed that says if voter turnout is below X, the results are void, and then I'll encourage people not to vote so that the election results are void. Or if you make voting mandatory, I will not do it as an act of civil disobedience.
Out of principle. Thanks, Sarah, for your call tonight.
So that's probably why some of the people in Australia and Mexico and the other couple dozen countries where voting is mandatory don't vote, is they're committing civil disobedience, and I applaud them for doing so.
Our toll-free number tonight is 855-450-FREE. The Venezuelans crossing the border again. Story from Reuters.com. Government employee Jose Lara this month used some vacation days to take a long scenic bus ride through the verdant plateaus and sweeping savannas of southern Venezuela. But the trip was anything but a holiday. It was a 36-hour grocery run. Lara took an overnight bus and then a pickup truck to get across the border to neighboring Brazil to buy food staples that have gone scarce in Venezuela's crisis-stricken economy. Can you imagine driving 36 hours just to get some food?
I could not imagine driving, and I've lived in places where I had to drive 30 minutes to go to a grocery store, and that's ridiculous.
Workers can't even enjoy, and this is a government employee, workers can't even enjoy vacation anymore. Look where I am, buying food for my children, said Lara, age 40, who was preparing to load 30 kilos or 66-pound packages of rice and flour onto a bus to complete a journey that takes close to 36 hours. Venezuelans seeking to escape their socialist economy's dysfunction are flooding into the remote Brazilian town of Pacaraima in search of basic goods that are prohibitively expensive or only available after hours in line in Venezuela. Shoppers have been coming for months, primarily from the industrial city of Puerto Ordaz, already a 12-hour bus ride, but lately they're also arriving from even more far-flung regions across the country. Venezuelans spend hours in supermarket lines. Many increasingly complain they can't get enough food to eat 3 meals per day. Low oil prices and massive debt servicing costs have left the country without foreign exchange to import goods, while price and currency controls have crippled domestic companies' capacity to produce locally. President Nicolas Maduro says the government is the victim of an economic war led by the United States. Yeah, that's right. It's not their fault in Venezuela. No. They're just the victims of something the government in the U.S. has done to them.
Hold on. So you said that they're leaving from Puerto Ordaz to go to Brazil?
Yes, primarily, which is a 12-hour bus ride.
Right. I'm looking at a map of Venezuela. Puerto Ordaz is a good ways from the Brazilian border. It's up by Guyana City, which is...
Well, there's a lot of forest in between there.
There's a lot of forest between there, and Puerto Ordaz is a lot closer to the coast than it is to anything else.
Now, I had thought they had opened the Brazilian border, but apparently it was never closed. Under pressure from local residents after Maduro shut the western border with Colombia in 2015, Venezuelan authorities allowed several temporary openings for similar shopping excursions in July of this year. Colombia last month halted those trips after more than 100,000 people crossed in a single weekend. The pictures were incredible. Just the people, imagine just thronging masses of people that are trying to get across this border. Yeah. There were bridges, so they were all kind of bottlenecked in there. It was just person, like shoulder to shoulder, neck to neck. So many people just trying to feed themselves. In Pacarema, known to Venezuelans as La Linea, or the line, because it's immediately across the border, cramped shops are now piled high with sacks of rice, sugar, and flour. Products piled to waist height stand at the entrance of convenience stores, auto parts shops, and even a farm supply store. It's good business, but the price of everything is going up in Boa Vista, said Mauricio Macedo, age 26, who works at a family business that sells artisanal decorations such as clay figurines, but for 3 months has been primarily focused on food items. Hey, when the market's calling, you get out of the clay figurine business and you start selling food. Venezuelan regulations require that staple products be sold for a pittance. A kilo of rice is set at the equivalent of 12 cents. But obtaining goods at those prices requires waiting in long lines that are increasingly the site of robberies or lootings. That leaves Venezuelans relying on the black market, where the same bag of rice fetches the equivalent of $2.20. In Pacarema, the sugar and rice sell for about 40% to 45% less than what they would cost on Venezuela's black market, and that discount is worth it despite the cost of the trip. Shoppers usually take a 12-hour overnight bus ride from Puerto Ordaz to the town of Santa Elena de Yaren. They then travel roughly 15 minutes by van or pickup truck to La Linea. They spend the morning and much of the afternoon shopping, then head back across the border to catch another overnight bus. So, like up here in Keene, New Hampshire, there's a bus service called Thomas Transportation. And if you listen to the radio, you'll hear their ads. Like, they'll get a bus together of people to go down to Foxwoods Casino in Connecticut, or a bus full of people together
to go see the Red Sox or something.
The Red Sox, or even go to New York City to Times Square. I've heard all of these advertisements, just like, the luxury of living in the United States, where you can just spend $70, sit on a bus, and then go and spend more money shopping, for a bunch of crap you don't need. Whereas these people are spending, whatever amount of pittance of savings they have to take a 12-hour-long bus ride in the middle of the night just so they can spend a day getting bags of grain so they can bring them home and cook something for their family. I mean, it's just absolutely horrible.
Yeah, our first world problems don't seem so bad.
Absolutely. Definitely keep things in perspective here. The toll-free number for you is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Coming up, there's some controversy swirling around your fundraiser, Bud. We haven't talked about the fundraiser yet, so we're going to do that on the way here in moments. 855-450-FREE is our toll-free number. You can join us here and bring up whatever's on your minds. Also, our Skype username is LRN.FM, and this is Free Talk Live.
I'm Governor Gary Johnson. Like 60% of you, I'm not impressed by the two-party system. It's a dinosaur. It's outmoded and no longer reflects today's America. Two-party politics doesn't work, and it hasn't worked for anybody but itself in decades. If we the people are wise, we will never again elect another president from within the entrenched, corrupt, co-opted two-party system. The office of president should serve the needs of everyone equally, with respect and with fairness. I did it as governor, I'll do it as president. Google me. 60% of you have said you want another choice in 2016, and now you have one in me. We the people have a chance to do something in 2016 that may not come around again in our lifetimes. We have a legitimate chance to elect one of our own to the highest office in the land. Give me your vote one time and see what a difference one election can make.
Our best America yet. Johnson Weld, 2016.
Paid for by Gary Johnson, 2016.
Think about this. Your community's aging water infrastructure systems are very likely to be contaminated with heavy metals like lead, disinfection chemicals like ammonia, chlorine and chloramines, and pharmaceuticals like statins, pain meds, and antidepressants. And no, water treatment plants are not equipped to filter these pharmaceutical toxins out. Protect your family's water supply with the trusted Big Berkey water filter. New NSF EPA certified lab tests show Big Berkey water filters remove chloramines, pharmaceuticals, BPA, pesticides, bacteria, and viruses, all forms of fluoride, and much more. Big Berkey water filters are the original and most trusted on the market, the gold standard in water purification, and our filters last for years at less than 2 cents per gallon. Big Berkey, the one powerful enough to purify stagnant pond water. Get your Big Berkey today. Call 1-877-99-BERKEY or click BigBerkeyWaterFilters.com. That's 1-877-99-BERKEY. Big Berkey Water Filters, for the love of clean water.
Money, power, and respect are all yours at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Be seen as an industry leader. You can do it. The last application you filled out when it was time to hit submit did your nerves spike. You didn't get the approval you seek, but there's a better way. We teach you exactly what to place into the right systems the right way the first time so you get approved. Get up to $100,000 in instant business credit. Many people will get cash on the spot. Use those two tools in your new corporate credit engine so you can walk into the bank and get your project funded today. It's all about today at CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com. Credit Success Secrets Revealed is explosive and ignites instant results. Dial 1-800-707-8719. That's 1-800-707-8719. 1-800-707-8719. Or just go to CreditSuccessSecretsRevealed.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip in on the right side of the page at LRN.FM.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. You can join us here toll free at 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. And you can join us online anytime you want. Just head over to freetalklive.com and enjoy the features that we have waiting for you there. With you in the studio tonight, you've got me, Ian, and Bud.
And
Daryl.
And Bud's
And
joining
Bud.
us, and Beryl and Bud. And
Bud.
maybe you join us here at 855-450-FREE, Skype username LRN.FM. Changing gears into this fundraiser that was kind of my idea. I don't remember exactly how it came up, but Bud, you've been on the show a few times as a, kind of a guest host.
That's true.
And I don't know if we've really gotten deep into Buddhist philosophy on Free Talk Live with you, but I think we've talked about some. I think we've talked about some theological or spiritual matters when it was you and Cody and I that were hosting the show.
Yeah, that was a good show.
You are a practicing Buddhist.
Yes.
How many years have you been doing Buddhism?
Well, I've been practicing mindfulness meditation for about 7 years now.
Okay.
And what is mindfulness meditation?
Mindfulness meditation is meditation that gets you to be aware of your surroundings, and not just your surroundings, but more towards introspection, be aware of your thoughts, be aware of your emotions and how they interact with not only yourself but the world around you. And when you learn that, your thoughts and perceptions really create the way you perceive the world, then you can then let them go and let them do what they will. And to be mindful is to be able to do that at any point in time. Obviously you wouldn't be able to do it if you weren't paying attention to doing it, but it's practice because
takes a lot.
It's very difficult to be mindful all the time. So
right, only a true master would be able to do something like
correct.
that. And of course, the Buddha did achieve that level of enlightenment at the point at which he was under what kind of tree was it? I don't remember.
It was a Bodhi tree.
The Bodhi tree. And he found that level of enlightenment, and then he came back into the world and continued on. But also,
now, I've got a question, and this is totally out of somewhat ignorance in like the pure dictionary definition. Haven't there been several Buddhas?
Well, yes. There was the Buddha who
Siddhartha.
was Siddhartha Gautama who sat under the Bodhi tree. But he said that there would be thousands and thousands of Buddhas throughout time. A Buddha is just somebody who's become enlightened and realizes,
correct,
oneness with the universe. And so plenty of Buddhas, but only one called the Buddha.
Okay.
The original. But it wasn't ever supposed to be a religion where Buddha was worshipped as a god. And
right, I knew that.
Right. Not everybody knows. Some people, I guess there's a certain sect of Buddhists who've sort of gone in that direction, but
they
Buddhists
do
haven't.
more towards the ceremonial stuff, and the Tibetan Buddhists lean more towards that. And but different sects of Buddhism have different approaches, and it's
Do you have
great.
one that you like more so than
more Theravada than anything?
Theravada? That was one of the more popular ones, if I'm recalling correctly.
Yep.
So
we actually have a Theravada monastery about 20 minutes from here. So
which you've spent some time at.
Yeah. I go there pretty often.
Doing lots of meditation.
Lots of meditation.
Long meditations.
And cooking for the monks and getting to be mindful with them.
And so when you started coming, you and I have kind of known each other off and on for a few years.
Quite a while, yeah.
Used to come around the 420 celebrations way back in the day. I think that's probably where I met you for the first time.
I think it was, yeah.
Was through Rich Paul, who's one of our former co-hosts here on Free Talk Live. And so you've been involved here. You've sort of started doing some meditation classes next door. And it didn't take long before folks asked you about the tattoo on your arm.
That's right.
Which appears to be a swastika.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it definitely does appear to be that. But,
I asked you about it like, okay, this guy has never given any kind of indicator that he is in any way racist or anti-Jewish or bigoted or anything like that. Not to say those things are uncommon in New Hampshire. I mean, New Hampshire is a very white place, and I think that's one of its few downsides is that there's not much diversity in this place.
Well,
and so
diversity is a good word because diversity would be one of the main reasons why I approached it that way, because if you're comfortable with something and you continuously perceive it as something you want to continue to experience, then you're not going to institute change. If I'm able to put something on my arm that's abrasive enough to make you get out of your comfort zone and perceive things from a different sort of perspective, then I feel I've done my job, because it's that box that you're stuck in. And the fact that it was a swastika that I used is sort of, multifaceted, because the swastika as it's perceived today is very abrasive and people get super salty over it. Well, they don't really understand.
It goes back way further.
Right. They don't understand the history of the quote unquote swastika.
It's really an ancient symbol, and it's not just associated with Buddhism, but I mean, a quick Wikipedia search will show you Hinduism and others.
And so the Germanic people, the people who you could refer to as Anglo-Saxons or Germanic people, or the Vikings, the Nordic people, Well, they read and wrote in a language called Futhark. It's a language of runes, and the younger Futhark, which is a form of the text, has symbolisms with it, symbology, and so they use what's called the sun wheel, which is a swastika, but it's meant to represent a cross in motion for eternity, forever and ever, an experience that never ever ends as the sun rises and the sun falls and rises and falls and rises and falls, never ending, perpetuating forever. So to be able to put that on me was a good idea because of that, because I want people to be able to look at something. Thought. Right. So I want people to be able to look at something and go, wow, that's pretty messed up. Can I ask you about it? And I say, yes. Well, let me tell you about it. Come here, sit and smoke with me, and we shall converse. And I found out, it's really not the people who, are open-minded enough to want to ask questions. It's the ones that are so closed-minded that they assume. And that they think that, oh, well, it's on the side, so it must be a swastika from the Nazis or something like that. But, a lot of people don't realize that Hitler used a lot of pro-Germanic things to get the people to follow him. For instance, the SS symbols, which are part of the Futhark alphabet, the Vikings, or the
so he
Vitkeys.
Appropriated these symbols for his own benefit. And unfortunately, what you're saying is people see it, and while it was your intention to have it be a conversation starter, and maybe it has been in certain instances.
It definitely has been.
We asked you about it, but as you pointed out, there's people who will not ask you, and they'll just figure, oh, he's one of those.
Yeah, he's super racist. Whatever. Don't go near him because he's bad news.
And you can't blame them for that. You
right,
really can't.
I really can't, and I don't, because they're within their own perspective and their own experience, and they're doing their thing, and they're welcome to do whatever they want in their own experience.
So we came up with a fundraiser to try to raise some money, because you don't have a whole lot to your name, basically.
Right. No, I really don't.
You spent some time in prison, and you've got a different life now than you did many years ago.
Right.
But after that, it's been hard for you to get back on your feet, as it tends to be for people who've been in prison.
Yeah.
And so you're struggling a little bit, and you certainly don't have a few hundred or a couple $100 or whatever it would cost to do some cover-up work on this tattoo. And I think it would be a good thing, because as you pointed out, it can be hard to get a job. It can be hard to, even talk to people with this tattoo on. So it came up with this fundraiser over at GoFundMe. It's GoFundMe.com/ and I titled this, Not a Nazi, not -a Nazi. And the idea is, hey, let's raise a few $100 for Bud, and, he'll get this tattoo done. And then anything that's over and above the amount that it would cost to cover up the tattoo will go towards the Buddhist Mindfulness Center that you're helping out
That's
with.
correct.
So I have two very important questions.
We've got time for one.
Well, they're both very short answered questions. Do you have a tattoo artist lined up, and do you have a design in mind?
I do have an artist lined up, and I do have a few concepts that I've drawn up. There's a few different things that could be done with it, but once I find out exactly what works best with it, and I'll post pictures and concept art. And
maybe
designs.
another night we'll talk more about the controversy, because some people are mad about this. It's been shared dozens of times already. So far, only one.
Well, it's I think at like 60 or 70 shares now. Or
something like that. Only one contribution so far. If you want to contribute, GoFundMe.com/ not-a-Nazi. And this is Free Talk Live. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Understanding your credit score is the first step towards managing and improving it. This is Charlie Sundstrom with your Van Dyke Mortgage Minute. The most influential component of your credit score is your payment history. Almost equally as important is the amount you owe on credit accounts. Also impacting your score, but to a lesser degree, are the length of time you've utilized your credit, the number of new accounts, credit inquiries, and your various types of credit accounts. To help achieve or maintain a healthy credit score, have a system set up to assure your bills are always paid on time. Don't max out your cards. It's better to have a high credit limit with a low balance. Never close old accounts. The age of these can actually help your credit score. But don't be afraid to use your credit. You need several accounts in order to have a credit score. Just keep the corresponding payments within your means. For your mortgage pre-approval and refi needs, start by visiting VanDykeMortgage.com.
Corporate NMLS 3035. Van Dyke Mortgage is an equal housing lender. Charlie Sundstrom, NMLS 134251.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Friday, August 19th, 2016. Silver is trading at $19.35 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,341 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $581. Antiwar.com reports after Saudi Arabian airstrikes against a Doctors Without Borders (MSF) hospital earlier this week killed 19 civilians, including 3 staff members. The aid group is announcing a full-scale evacuation of its staff from all 6 hospitals it operates in northern Yemen. MSF warned that it considers all hospitals in Sadr and Hajjah province unsafe for patients and staff because they are at risk of targeting by Saudi warplanes. MSF facilities have been repeatedly targeted since Saudi Arabia invaded Yemen last year. A statement by Doctors Without Borders said they regretted having to withdraw from northern Yemen, but that they have been unable to secure any credible assurances from the Saudi-led coalition that they will stop attacking the hospitals, saying they have no option but to withdraw. Saudi Arabia promised to probe the attack on the hospital, but despite killing thousands over the course of the war so far, they have repeatedly insisted their attacks are not war crimes and that by definition they don't target civilians. When you hear the word lobbyist, you probably think about